How was everybody this evening? I hope you all had a good 4th of July. Yeah, some people got sleep and some didn't. Yeah, I heard from my neighbors, said somebody should call the mayor. It's like, I'm ready to call PD. At 1 a.m., I waited. I will say, I thought about going in my pajamas to the neighbor's house across the street, and I thought, good judgment is maybe don't do that. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, well, we have a tradition, and that is that we open in prayer. And Pastor Tony McCrary with Grace Bible Church, are you here this evening? Thank you. I don't know you, so welcome. Well, come on up, and we're going to stand, and we'll let you open us in prayer and then lead us in the pledge.
Sure.
Thank you so much,
Mary Kling. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the gift of community, the blessing of leadership. We lift up the city of Nampa, and we lift up the Nampa City Council to you, each member who has answered the call to serve our city with wisdom, integrity, and compassion. God, may your presence guide their discussions, their decisions, their deliberations during this meeting. Lord, we especially pray for Mayor Kling. Thank you for her dedication, for her heart for this city. Grant her continued strength, clarity, and courage as she leads. Surround her with wise counsel and fill her with peace in every challenge she faces, God. We ask that this meeting will be marked by unity, respect, and a shared vision for the good of all the people who call Nampa home. May every voice be heard. May every decision reflect justice, mercy, and truth. Bless our city, Lord. May Nampa be a place where families flourish, businesses thrive, and neighbors care for one another. Let your light shine through our leaders and our people, God. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let us pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Tony, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for praying.
My honor. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's do our call to order, our roll call.
Rodriguez.
I guess not.
Over at the...
Oh, it's like, where did he go? Rodriguez. There you go. He's here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here.
Thank you. Jangula. Here. Hills.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Haverfield.
Here.
Griffin. All present.
So we do have a couple proposed amendments to the agenda. The first one is that item 5.4 was added to the posted agenda, and that item is an emergency declaration regarding a water main break on North Side. Then we are going to be changing the executive session numbers. So the posted executive sessions are C, E, and F. And that is Idaho Code 742061, and we had posted C, E, and F. We are going to change that to B, C, D, and I think I'll leave E on there. So B, C, D, and E. You don't have E? Okay, so B, C, and D. I can't leave the E on there. Okay, so, and that has been updated in our system, our agenda online. Other than that, I'm not aware of any other requested amendments to the agenda. Council, do you have anything you're wanting to change on the agenda?
Mayor
Or
Kling,
amend? Yes.
I have one item that I'd like to pull from consent if you're there at this point.
Yes,
Or
what
is
would
this
that?
just a regular agenda or consent agenda and regular agenda?
Well, it's both. So
Okay.
it's just the agenda. And so what would you like to move off of consent?
I'd like to have an opportunity to pull 1.4E off the consent agenda.
Okay, and 1.4E is the authorization, if I remember correctly, as I find that page. 1.4E is the authorization for a public hearing
Yes.
on August the 11th, okay? Okay, we'll pull that off. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to approve the amended agenda as noticed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Then I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented
So moved.
and amended. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda then will be to discuss item 14E, which was to authorize a public hearing. And the action item was to authorize a public hearing for the potential conveyance of the Fort Idaho Center and its associated properties to the College of Western Idaho, CWI, to be considered by City Council on August 11th. This is a standard routine item. Whenever we are doing a public hearing, it isn't actually required, but we do post when we're doing a public hearing. And so, Councilman Haverfield, what would you like to discuss on that item?
Yeah, this is the first time, I believe, that we as a council have had an opportunity to bring this forward in a public setting. So I just wanted to ask a couple of questions of you, Mayor, and also to state that as far as in 12 years of being on council, this is only with the water treatment facility, this is one of the largest decisions that we've been asked to make as a council. So I want to make sure that the public has opportunity to make sure that they have ability to be a part of the process. So I understand in a posting that there is a town hall meeting planned for July the 15th, 4 to 6 p.m. Is that correct? At the Fort Idaho Center, Les Schwab Corral.
That is correct, and thank you for
Okay.
that. And actually, it's very likely that we will host additional town halls just to help answer questions and get the word out.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to say 4 to 6, if someone works till 5, it'd be difficult for them to make that location if they even knew where the location was. So 6 to 8 would be more appropriate from my standpoint.
Okay.
If we can schedule more town hall meetings like we do for our comp plan amendments or specific area plans, it would be great if we could have multiple opportunities for people to speak. That's important to me, since the general public, citizens of Nampa own the facility, they need to be a part of the process.
I fully agree, and I think this particular one is just noticing the public hearing because we have to notice a public hearing 2 weeks in advance, 14 days in advance. Here, we decided to do it well over that, and it will be on the agenda again on the 21st, just to give plenty of opportunity for the public to be aware of it. In addition to that, we do have and we're really working hard to get that word out, a couple of town halls. The first one is on the 15th, and thank you for your comments on those times.
Okay.
And that's something that actually, and Amy is here, we'll take note of, and we've heard also we need to have some additional ones at different days, different times, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weekdays, 6 to 8 makes more sense. Weekends, 4 to 6, that's fine. So that was something I just wanted to point out as
Thank
something
you.
that was brought to my attention as well. So
Thank
you for thinking about that. We do need, I think, other opportunities, even if we need to postpone the public hearing to be able to accommodate that. It's really important. This is a big decision. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we actually, it is an action item on the consent agenda to authorize the public hearing,
I'll make that motion.
Second.
and that would be a roll call. Is that correct? Do we need a roll call, or is that an all in favor? All, okay. So it's been moved and seconded to authorize the public hearing on August 11th. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. One opposition. Okay. Victor. Councilman Rodriguez. Were you opposition?
Opposition.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor, may I give an explanation for that?
If you would like to.
Yes, thank you. I just think there's a lot going on with this conveyance. A lot of decisions are being made, and well, not decisions. I would say that there's a lot of documents that are they're looking at from our legal and from our staff. I don't know that those would be prepared in enough time by August, and so in order for the community to make a good sound support or against this conveyance, that they need to see and need to be advised of what has been passed before the council. So I vote no. I wish we could get more time in this and allow the community to be more involved. And so that's where I stand. Thank you.
I will say that we have, from the time we announced a full 5 weeks, we do have another, actually 5 weeks from tonight is when that public hearing would be. Normally, it would be a 2-week notification, but we have 5 weeks set aside. And we have heard and discussed that we need to add some more town halls, and that we'll work diligently to get adequate community feedback and get the word out. So thank you for your comments.
You're welcome. Thank
We'll
you.
work on that. Okay, so agency and commission reports. We don't have any tonight, but we do have staff communications. We have planning and zoning, Rodney Ashby, and a comprehensive plan update comments. Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director, for the record. So we had 3 things that I'd like to report on for Planning and Zoning this last commission meeting. The first one is subdivision short plat and replat for the 1684 Commerce Center. This was the Barron property that was across the street on Star Road, just directly across from Amazon. And it was a pretty simple plat. They replatted it to 5 lots instead of 4. And so that was recommended for approval. And it was just approved tonight before in the consent agenda. The next one is an annexation and zoning to RS6 and a conditional use permit for a group care home. And this is on South Happy Valley Road, south of East Greenhurst and north of East Locust Lane. This one was recommended for continuance on 6/24. They would like to have the applicant provide some more details. So that's going to come back before the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 12th of August. And of course, because this is an annexation, that'll come further on to you at that time. And then the last one was a comprehensive plan text amendment, and that one is for the CIP to get the language in there for the fire district, and then the and Public Works in their CIP list of projects as well to be incorporated in the comprehensive plan because that is a requirement by state code. And that was recommended approval on 6/24, and it will come before you on the 21st of July. So that's it for the update there. And then just a quick update on our comprehensive plan. We mentioned early on when we started the comprehensive plan update that we would be coming to you on a regular basis. So we're going to try to do this once a month and just update you on the status of the comprehensive plan. So a couple of just quick bullet points. The consultant and contractor are on board and underway. The branding of the process to update the comprehensive plan has begun. We're crafting the initial survey, and the websites are currently being developed. The official kickoff of the comp plan will be on Monday, July 14th, this upcoming Monday. A press release and social media posts will go out with the website, and first set of public outreach events will be listed there as well. The website will be updated as more events are added. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Rodney. Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
So Rodney, next Monday night, is that when you said the first meeting will be?
So that is the kind of the kickoff. I think it's the 16th that we have the first meeting, and I think that's going to be at the library. Is that correct? Yeah. So the library on the 16th.
At what time?
We'll be there all day. It'll be a presentation. I mean, you can walk in and just read the information. So.
Oh, okay. Starting at what time then?
We don't know yet. We're working with the library to
It'll be in the press release.
set up. Yep.
What day is the press release coming out?
So I think the press release is 14th. Is that correct? Yeah. So far, I'm on.
So the notification of a meeting is pretty close, just 2 days later. Is there a reason for that?
Just time frame. We're just trying to get it out as quickly as possible, but we've been working with Amy, who's been out of the office, and has been just trying to get the right information in that press release and getting our branding set up as well.
Can we scoot that meeting back? Does it have to be on, this is July 16th?
Bria, I'll
Could you
invite
speak
you
to
up.
that? I'm just thinking about notification is really important, giving people an opportunity to come. But this is being set up in the entry to the library, correct? And it's going to stay there for a bit, right?
So,
No?
Mayor, Council, the press release will go out on Monday, and the press release will include multiple events all the way through October that we have
Okay.
scheduled. Just the first one that's listed just happens to be that Wednesday, the 16th. There'll also be events all the way through July, August, September, October in various places throughout the city. And yes, it'll be in the front of the library where before you walk in, before you go through like the metal detectors. We don't have an exact time yet. I'm working with the library. Ideally, we actually would like to be outside if possible and catch people outside in that plaza area, but we're trying to work through those details still. Yes, we obviously want to give people a lot of notice, but we don't have a lot of turnaround. We want to also start right away. So it's a balancing act. But there will be multiple events listed in the press release. I believe
Through
10.
October?
Yeah.
Okay.
And more, and those are just the ones that we have confirmed so far. For example, those are the Third Thursday events, some fun runs with Parks and Rec. We're doing a movie night with Parks and Rec, farmers markets. Those are already confirmed and scheduled, and we've already registered, and so we're already planning on being there. So those are solidified. As we get more events added, we'll just add those to the website.
Are you tracking addresses for comments?
Yes.
You are, okay. So if we have the same people attend all, we would know that.
That's correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
correct.
Okay,
Mayor,
thank you, yes.
Brianna, before you leave. So comment from the public, will that be only written, or will there be someone there that would answer questions?
So we will always have a staff member present to answer questions. And then we will have online survey and then also in person, like they can write in their survey response as well.
Thank you.
And we're doing our best to track for addresses and IP addresses to track where people are sending their survey responses from and that kind of information. We're working through that with our consultant, so.
Before you leave, Mayor, I just wanted to make sure we get the timing of the survey. Are we still trying to get the survey out online by the 16th, correct?
The 14th.
The 14th, okay, great. So that's always an opportunity that everyone has to just get online and take a survey online.
That will be up how long?
Mayor, Council, the survey will be up all the way through October. So
Okay.
the first phase survey will be up that entire first phase. And then once the first phase is over, which is all of that months of public outreach, then we will take a step back, work with our consultant on looking at the survey responses. And then that's when we will start phase 2 in October to bring the steering committee and the focus groups together and have several workshops with council, so.
So with the survey, will people be required to put their address in?
Mayor, correct.
That way you know that they're
Yes.
Nampa residents and that, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much. That was helpful.
And Mayor and Council, I'll just keep updating you on a monthly basis on these. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me before the meeting, or I can try to respond, and I'll have Bree help me out in responding to those questions as well.
Thank you. Okay, Public Works, Staff Communications. Hi, Crystal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I feel bad almost following Rodney there because I give you quarterly updates instead of monthly updates, but you hear the sound of my voice plenty, I'm sure. So I'm here to give you our, just as I said, a quarterly update on our City of Nampa RAISE grant that we got. As a reminder, we were awarded this in August of 22. The project officially began in July of 24 is when we signed the contracts on that. So just about a year ago, and we've made some great progress. So I'm excited to share. Want to start with our program schedule. You can see if you compare this to the last update that I gave you. Some of the timelines have advanced and went a little bit farther, but our project end date is still scheduled for March 1st of 2027. That's the federal date that we committed to get this project done. This project is unique. It was a $5 million grant, zero match for the city of Nampa, which is really awesome. There are 6 projects that I'm going to get, or 8 projects throughout this that I'm going to give you an update on all of them. The first we're calling the multimodal analysis rehab. This you can see from the vicinity map. It looks at 5 different project locations. We are targeting pedestrian and sidewalk improvements for these corners. We chose these based on connectivity to different city parks, the ability to find grants for these, and then some of the more egregious areas and places that we thought we could get in and tackle. The design for this is entering final design right now, so this one will be our first project that actually comes to completion, so it goes all the way through design, and then we'll be able to start looking at grants to get this built. You can kind of see right here, this is the scope of the projects. It looks at just some sidewalk rehabs and then really rebuilding some of those corners in this North Nampa area where we've got some really bad aging infrastructure, so it'll really improve the usability for our vulnerable users in that area. The next we called the Mobility Hub implementation. This is a planning level document only. We're calling it a guidebook, so to speak. It will give direction not only on this North Nampa area, but across the entire city for when we want to implement mobility hubs and what those should look like. There's different scales. The one that I'm showing on the picture right here is more the Cadillac because it's prettier to look at. It's got more features on it. Not every feature or every mobility hub will have all of these features, but some examples include ADA crossings. That could be Hawks, RFBs, things like that. Bike racks, again, this is mobility, so it's all forms of mobility, biking, walking, busing, micromobility with the Lime scooters, things like that. Roadway lighting, so recommendations on how we can keep these people safe. We don't want them to congregate in one location without that additional safety factor. Seating, park benches, if it's close to facilities like that. If there is transit in the area, it could look at, transit buses or transit benches and things like that, as well as any shelter structures that are required. It will also have a multitude of other things, including recommendations on, Wi-Fi, on cameras, on trash cans, all sorts of things, depending upon where it's looking. I know that this RAISE grant is for specifically that North Nampa neighborhood. Something like this would not be appropriate for that area. It's a little bit too built out for something like that. So like I said, this is just the scaled up version. There's also scaled down versions. They will all look similar with different types of features. And then the downtown mobility hub will also match the look and feel of our downtown study that it's in the finalization of that. The one I'm probably most excited about is the North Side and 4th Street intersection. This looks at putting a signal at that intersection, as well as replacing our only 1-lane bridge, which is on Broadmoor, just to the left of the screen right here. This is in preliminary design right now. You can kind of see what we're looking at. This intersection is particularly challenging because of the proximity between Northside and Broadmoor, as well as the turning radiuses. We really wanted to be able to get a tractor trailer around this curve so that anyone going to our water renewal facility or our fleet buildings could actually make this corner safely without off-tracking into the creek. Based on that, you see we're going to have to move over the road a skosh. We're going to put a curve in it to not impact that commercial structure right there.
Crystal, can I ask, will you also curve the road if you're turning to the right? Because I noticed there's quite a bit of industrial building and potential truck traffic everywhere west of Broadmoor, right? That whole area. Yep. So will that be designed to accommodate also if you turn right?
Mayor, great question. This will facilitate a WV, that tractor trailer for all turning movements.
Both sides?
Yes.
Okay.
We will still
Left
likely
right?
encourage the larger vehicles to go up and make a turn on Shannon, okay, so that they don't have to maneuver. It will still be tight. I'm not going to lie, but it will be safe to be able to make that. They'll just have to take both lanes of travel.
Well, this way, they're not going in front of a grade school.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, is that you've got Idaho Arts Charter School up
Yep.
there, and so trying to keep them down on this side with
Yes.
the light would be best. So to accommodate that turning radius here, so they're not having to go up in school traffic, would be
Yep.
great.
The only way to accommodate that full movement without having them off track into another lane would be to take one of these structures. So
Yeah, thank you.
we're doing what we can in the constraints that we have, but it will be vastly improved.
Thank you.
I will also mention, we have some development money set aside for the construction of the signal at Northside and Fourth, so construction's already partially paid for, and we're planning to go after a grant with the Bridge Investment Program for the bridge to get this. So we're already looking at funding this for construction.
That's good. Idaho Arts Charter will really like this, I think.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, thank you.
The next project is 6th Street and 2nd Avenue. It's a road rehab and a side path installation. It looks at rehabbing 6th Street, roughly between 16th and North Side, as well as reconstructing the ped ramps, installing a side path on one side of the road. Right now, they've done the geotechnical and they're surveying it, so we're starting to get underway on that one. This one, I'm sure quite a few of you are already aware of. This is our 14th Avenue rail overpass. I'm calling it 14th Avenue. That doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be at 14th, but that's the location that we're looking at right now. We're also analyzing 16th Street to see if we can improve the pedestrian facilities there. But this will be a new potential pedestrian overpass. The things that we're analyzing are if we do nothing and just leave it as is, improving those 16th Street bridge to accommodate pedestrians, like I said earlier, and then evaluating that new pedestrian bridge. We're working closely with the downtown master plans to make sure that that coincides well. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. This is in the preliminary stages. We've only had a kickoff for this. We do know that the ramps will likely be some form of spiral or a switchback, which I've shown pictures of what they could look like. Again, this is not exactly what it's looking like, but we know it won't be one long ramp that goes back 2 or 3 blocks. So coming soon on that one. Another one we're very excited about is the 16th Avenue and 6th Street intersection. This will be installing a hawk to get people across 16th Avenue. It doesn't necessarily have to go right at 16th and 6th. That's just really close to where we're going to go. You can see they're out doing the geotechnical work. I will remind you that we also got this project funded through the VRT grant this last year through construction. So if you guys can opt to vote to continue funding VRT, we will have this funded through construction. We also are applying for this and the 6th Street side path and road rehab for Safe Streets for All grant. We're partnering with the cities of Middleton and Caldwell on that. That grant's a 20% match if we got it. So we've got a couple of different options for funding these ones through construction, but we committed to the public that this design and planning only grant wasn't going to stop here, right? We're designing these so that we can actually rebuild the infrastructure and get these improvements in.
Mayor, Crystal, can you remind us how much that grant was?
Oof, great question. Don't have the answer. I think it's around $280,000. No, $750. I'm phoning a friend.
You're okay.
500, close to 500.
Okay.
The design portion, which we're doing right now, I think was about $65,000.
Thank you.
Project 5 is the Indian Creek Pathway. I think our design consultant, which is HDR Engineering, I think this is their most exciting project. We hear about it a lot. These are looking at conceptual alternatives to install about a 1.6 mile extension to the Indian Creek Pathway. It gets to that, I just looked it up, something acres park on the northwest corner here, and gets it down across the railroad bridge over by First Street. So we've got a couple of different paths that we're analyzing. So next update, you guys should have some fun things to look at for this one. Then the last project we have, this will also only just be a concept. It looks at the First Street North and the 3rd Street North rail underpasses to see what we can do to improve safety. These underpasses get struck 3 to 4 times a year, unfortunately. We've improved signage, but they still get struck quite often. So coming soon on that one, we'll have some good alternatives for you. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Crystal, I didn't see anything as far as an 11th Avenue or Franklin. None of that is in your north with this plan. Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, that was not part of the RAISE grant. We are looking at converting 11th Avenue to two-way with city funds and the NDC funds. And then Franklin, we've got a freight grant on that through ITD, but it's technically not within the bounds of this project.
Time being limited as far as in the sunsetting the urban renewal district, I was wondering if we could dovetail your efforts with potential assistance by the Napa Development Corporation in improving 11th Avenue North, Franklin to the interstate, create more of a pathway from the interstate into downtown. I didn't know if that was something that's on your radar or not, but we're running out of time. So just something to think about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the question I would have, is that part of the NDC plan for use of their dollars?
Yep,
It is? Okay. Thank you.
that's why I
That's it.
pointed it out.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Great job. Thank you. I appreciate the update. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes our staff updates. The next item on the agenda is our new business. We've got 4 different agenda items before we move into proclamations and public forum. The first business item is an action item. This is the first reading of the pressurized irrigation annexation corrected ordinance. The ordinance number is 4811, and approval of publication of the corrected ordinance summary expanding the boundaries of the municipal irrigation district of the city of Nampa by inclusion of the real properties contained in Exhibit A. It is requested to pass under suspension of rules following the reading.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, annexing a portion of the underlying irrigation district into the municipal irrigation district of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, and changing the boundaries thereof, allowing for a summary of this ordinance to be published and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly, providing for recordation, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Mayor, I move to approve under suspension of rules.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Jingula?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Hammerfield?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 5.2 is an action item. This is to authorize the Public Works to partner with Valley Regional Transit and provide a 20% match for their Federal Transit Administration grant to build a bus filling station in Canyon County. Tom, is that so moved? Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
No.
Jingula?
Yes.
Hammerfield? Griffin?
No.
Bills?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
3 in favor, 3 opposed, a tie.
Okay. Tom, did you have a presentation on this? You didn't have anything? Okay. So my understanding, and if you could come, please correct me if I'm wrong, as I am going to justify my vote, my understanding is that when Valley Regional Transit, when we move forward with this grant, authorizing a 20% match, if for some reason something needs to be changed down the road or something that we have some flexibility to do that, is that correct? I know it's not good to pull out of a federal grant, but there's a timing on that. Can you explain that?
So as far as the funding goes, we don't have to actually provide the grant match until construction, so it gives us a lot of flexibility to work that into our program. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
Because it's going to be, that we won't have anything constructed for a couple of years out.
Okay. And if the financial climate changes, if something significant shifts and we don't get to move forward with some of our plans, the waste to energy plans and the direction we're wanting to go, if need be in the next 2 years, we could adjust. Would that be correct?
Do you want to answer that, Elaine? Okay.
Thank you. Absolutely. Valley Regional Transit is moving forward with a contract to earn the renewed natural gas credits off the open market in the meantime. And if for some reason your project doesn't go through and we can't help you utilize all of your renewed natural gas for transportation, which earns you money, then we would continue with the contract that we're going to undertake on the open market until and if that comes forward. In terms of this grant, if we were awarded, we would still have some time to work with you on what the timing of that would be if market changes. mean that you have to delay it or even decide not to do it. Certainly, you know, we're a willing partner. We're trying to help get the infrastructure so we can utilize your gas so you can earn more money, and also to pay for the pipeline, which will allow you to sell it on the open market.
Mayor,
Thank you. Yes.
can I ask 2 questions? I
Yes.
know we are voting, but just for your tie break split there. On the return on investment of the $400,000, how long would it take to pay back that money in credits or in time or revenues from selling the natural gas?
Just in savings, about 1.6 years. So,
Follow-up question.
Yes.
And are there any other cities that are going to be contributing? I know it mentions, as it does in most of the Valley Regional Transit documents, Canyon County, Canyon County, Canyon County. Is any other Canyon County city or municipality contributing to this project?
currently, no. We have not had time to pursue that. The timing on this was really quick. We had literally 2 weeks to get the grant written and wanted to get the grant in and written, but I fully intend to talk to other Canyon County agencies that and municipalities in the county that will benefit from it.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, was the question about the benefit, is it partnering with others to sell theirs? Or go back to your question, just so that I...
From my understanding of the packet, it mentions that it will help alleviate staff time, it'll increase availability of buses. I think that's a community benefit from having this here. So in my mind, there should be a community coordination to have other cities who are also participating, Caldwell, Canyon County, the county level budget, and the other cities that are participating should also be contributing. I know for the revenue's sake, they could argue, well, Nampa's going to see the credits back, but it was just out of more curiosity than anything.
Thank you. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Tom, can you clarify the location and what's transpiring here is long-term is the benefit for the waste to energy program, correct?
Yes, correct. So
this is like a step one?
this is actually the fourth step in the energy project, which would bring in the gas fill station. And as Elaine was talking, it's maximizing our revenues because you actually get more revenue on the transportation if it goes into a bus or an interstate truck than you would going directly into the pipelines. So we're looking, and also we want to have another offtake for the gas because we think we're going to have quite a bit of gas. Not sure that we're going to be able to get all of it in the pipeline. And so having a fill station will give us another alternative to put the gas nearby. As far as location goes, it would be right next to our Public Works complex, probably just outside of the water renewal gate. We could build a little bub out right there so people could go in and access it and not be in our water renewal facility.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If there are no other questions or discussion, my vote is actually yes. I support the motion to authorize the Public Works Director to partner on this 20% match.
Therefore, the vote is 4-3, motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you for answering the questions. Okay, 5.3 is just a discussion item, and it's Councilman Griffin actually had asked the question about the benefit of a levy override versus the use of foregone. I realize that came forward and I put it on the agenda, but I know Doug has been out of the office. So, Doug, would you like to make?
Oh, sure. I just sent you. Pardon me. Yes, I was back at a conference last week when I was trying to respond to the emails, and couldn't get on the system very well, so I was trying to do everything on my phone. Anyway, I apologize. Yeah, so the levy override process, I think, is indicated something we can pursue if we need it. I think the impact to us right now is, I don't think we're there yet where we need to do that, because we have foregone that we can use that as a much less invasive impact than a levy override. If we use foregone wisely, we can build to fill our gap. The challenge will be getting to look forward to see what happens with new construction monies next year. This year they were much smaller because of the urban renewal impact. If that trend continues, then we'll need to either use more foregone or consider some other option. I can tell you that 1% foregone is They have a different calculation method. It's actually $478,000 per 1%, or $2.81 per $100,000 of taxable homeowner value. Right, $2.81. So if you have a $300,000 home, that's the taxable value, that's after your exemption, then it's roughly, $8 a year. A little less.
So the Meridian levy override was $20 per 100,000.
Yeah.
Was how much that one would have cost, so per 100,000, so
That's a
averaging.
$5 million override for them.
Correct. Versus taking a $478,000 foregone.
It's about 12% of what theirs is, so.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just a few questions. I had asked for this. I thought it was intriguing seeing the Boise Dev reporting it and Meridian go in this direction, especially since they've had a trend of taking foregone and other cities have as well. So my first being, what is the remaining balance of foregone that we have available to use as of this year, this fiscal year?
Just a second, I've got it right here. It is about, we had 4.4 million, we took 1.7, so we're at 2.7 million, I think, left, just over 2.6.
And for my own knowledge, what happens when we're out of foregone? If we
Then that option is no longer available to us unless during the council process, we were to take the budget approvatory process, we were to take less than 3%, and the council made the conscious election to roll that into foregone. Otherwise, it automatically goes away.
And then the final question, and I don't know, I really don't know, I don't go into this with preconceived idea. What was the original intent of foregone when that was created as a mechanism for cities to lean back into? Was it for emergency fund usage? Was it for?
I think it was, I don't know exactly. Mayor might have a better answer than I do, but my estimation is that it was created as a option for cities to use if they wanted to be conservative in their approach and not use the full 3%, and have it as available as an option to come back later should the need arise and the financial situation actually support the need of applying for foregone. But that's my estimation, but I wasn't around when they created it, so I don't know the exact intent.
And just for a comment, the reason I bring it up, because I'm tossing and turning with foregone once again. I'm leaning to the no camp. Just for transparency, before we jump in there, that I'm bringing all these questions up in anticipation. I find it hard when we look at foregone because it will be an increase, whether it's 2.8 cents or $2.8 or $28 per 100,000. I ultimately feel that maybe it costs us $30,000 to gauge the public perception, but a levy override vote gives us the opportunity to see what really is of value to the constituents in the city. So that's, I lean towards the levy direction, especially with our current trajectory, although we're not there now, maybe.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking the public their opinion. That's, I don't think you go wrong there. The reason I think we proposed it as an option to be considered by the council this year was for framework, for those in the audience, framework. Last year, we received $1.8 million in new construction money. That's monies given to us from property taxes for new buildings, new houses, new commercial, and so forth. That is not a tax increase, it's just new tax on the rolls. That was last year. This year, it's less than $900,000 because most of the growth took place in the urban renewal, and that money won't come to us in any form for at least 5-6 more years. So 1 year, we can manage that. If that happens again next year, and we don't do foregone this year, our base is going to be hurt even worse next year. So it's, while we can't get to an override right now, we wouldn't have the time to get it in and do the appropriate steps. If council chooses not to do the override and next year's taxes come in similarly, we'll be in a much worse position because we haven't thought ahead and started to plan ahead.
So
just financially.
Yeah. So just a reminder that the Urban Renewal District will be sunsetting in 5 years. We have enough to take a 1% foregone each year to get us to that 5 years. Our budget is going to be really tight for the next 5 years. But when Urban Renewal District sunsets, That's going to bring the influx of cash. I personally would be very, very hesitant to do a levy override and burden our citizens with as much as $100 a year in taxes, extra tax burden, when we could do a, probably for the same, I mean, for 478, it's $2.84, so it may be per 100,000, so maybe you're talking the $8, maybe 10 versus 100 in tax burden for our citizens. It just means we're going to have to be really, really, really tight for the next 5 years until urban renewal sunsets. But we have that ahead of us. We know it's going to sunset. It's going to bring revenue in. I personally would be very hesitant to support any type of a levy override, knowing that we have 5 years. We've got to figure out how to get there, and it's not going to be easy, but we tighten our belts, and that's what we do.
That sparked a question in my mind, Mayor. Is there a certain minimum amount on a levy override that we must take? We use the comparison of the $2.81 compared to $100 per household. How do we get to that $100 number? Is that the equivalent if we take the same amount of foregone each year and then run that as a levy override? It's $2.80 now, but $100 then?
Mayor,
I think that's $5 million.
No, I would say that, I would say that if we were choosing to go down the levy override, it needs to be data-driven. We need to look and see how much money we need, what our resources are, and take the very bare minimum to get us to where we need to be. And that's a data-driven approach. So I can't say if it would be 5 million, 2 million, or 3 million. I do know that if we continue the trend we're on with expenses growing faster than revenues, in 5 years, we'll be behind about $2 million a year in general government.
How much would we need to
But
take?
that's just at the current growth rates.
How much would we need to take in a levy override to hit that number of $100 per household of an increase? Ballpark.
Let's see, well, I don't know. I'd have to calculate it.
That may take a
Yeah.
bit to get.
Yeah, I can
That-
figure that out in just a second,
Yeah.
but I don't have it right here.
I guess my question would be, do we want to bring this forward again at another council meeting and have further discussion about it for consideration this year? Or is this something that would be a year away before we would consider it again? Councilman Haverfield?
I'll just say that we have our budget hearing coming up, so we can get in the weeds then. I've got a lot of questions for Doug that day, so I think I can get that information out of him at that time.
Okay. I would ask us, with that comment, that City Council please get your questions to Doug before the budget workshop. Because if we're going to surprise him with questions, we will not get done in one day. And we have a break in the day to attend a memorial service. And so, and then we have some council members that are not available the next day.
Right.
So I think we're going to need to get our questions
Reach
out
out
in
to me
advance.
anytime. I had a miss with Randy, we talked a little bit, but please, any calls, please reach out to me, I'll discuss
Yeah.
any topic with you. Counselor Griffin, your question, because our levy rate is slightly higher than Meridian's, we've come down a lot, a $5 million bond would be an average cost of about $141.
Any other comments?
Mayor, I would not be in favor of a levy override, so I don't need it to come back.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I would echo Councilwoman Jangula's comment.
Okay. Any other comments? As far as coming back for further discussion for this year?
I would just add a budgetary aside. Taking the 1% limits what we can do and doesn't give us a full big bucket of $5 million and makes us be very frugal with the dollars we have. So it's a more conservative approach, and that's what I would typically go for.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to 5.4 on the agenda. And this is an action item and is declaring that an emergency exists and authorizing the mayor to sign a resolution authorizing immediate expenditures for the repair of a water line break at the North Side Boulevard overpass.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's just go to roll call. Oh, you don't have to read the resolution, but we'll talk about it in just a minute.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Jingula,
Yes.
Hills,
Yes.
Haverfield,
I would like to have known the amount, but I'll vote yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
So we'll talk about, no, you can stay there. We want to see the pictures, and then I don't have the resolution. Do you have the? Okay, so we can talk about the resolution. But go ahead, Jeff, and start. Why don't you walk us through, because it's important for everybody to see and talk about what you've done.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So on the 4th of July at 2 o'clock, the police discovered a water leak on Northside Boulevard at Broadmoor. They immediately saw, and I'll show you some pictures of the event, but that's when it started, which kicked off a lot of communications with staff at that point. So this is a picture of the actual event, and there ended up being 2 breaks in an 8-inch cast iron line across the intersection there. You see water was coming up from underneath the curb line, pushing up the asphalt, and the asphalt was thick to tell you how much water was underneath it. And then that picture on the right was just, it was water coming up interior in the middle of the lane just through the asphalt without any cracks. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure. I think police immediately made the call that it was structural issues, and we came and backed that up when we saw it. We didn't want any people getting hurt, so we closed north side from 4th all the way to the boulevard. And that started a preceding 3 days of just working. From there, so the actual July 4th, the rest of the day, city crews were on site. We started to look for the leak. We couldn't find the leak because it was thick asphalt and it kind of traveled down the trench. So we determined that we were just going to remove all of that pipe in the intersection. So they capped either end till 2 in the morning. And John Spencer is our manager of our water department, and he was there the whole time. He just was, we couldn't have got it done without his leadership. Also Crystal Craig and the streets crew. There's a number of people involved in it. We just couldn't imagine how many people came from the city and then outside the city, and I'll share a little bit about that. So July 4th, we made phone calls to some contractors, and where we landed was IMCO, who's doing our Headworks project right now and also designing our Purdom trunk, was available. They actually answered the phone 2 o'clock on 4th of July, if you can imagine. And then I was talking to Councilman Haverfield. He was throwing me out some names. We just went across the board. But I did get a hold of Idaho Materials, and they agreed to do the paving, and IMCO agreed to do the water line restoration. So starting 7 a.m., the pipe replacement started on July 5th. That was the actual pipe we found. It's cast iron. It's 50 to 60 years old, and it's in that condition. All day on the 5th, they put in pipe. And then our city crews came in. We had streets crews, traffic crew, water renewal. Water was out there the whole time. But we started to remove asphalt. And that was super important because if we hadn't removed enough asphalt, IMC would have delayed it till Monday and pushed all that traffic into Monday, and we wouldn't have been able to open the road. So July 6th, they kept replacing the pipe. The pipe was deep across the intersection. We put in new PVC pipe. That shows you just how deep it is right there. All this was done in a day and a half. They extended into the next day. You'll see a lot of the base prep, and this is when, and again, this is July 4th, 5th, so this is Sunday now. So on Sunday morning, Idaho Materials moved in, and it was like someone moved in the Army, and so they came in and they finished the prep, but they would not have gotten this done unless our city crews got a lot done on the 2 days before that. So anyway, they finished up the water line on Sunday night at 5. We got water onto the people in the neighborhoods, and then they paved all the way to midnight last night, and Crystal and the streets crew stayed the last 3 hours, and they tabbed the intersections, made sure everything was safe. We had also a traffic control company. So what was the name of it? AWP, IMCO, and Idaho Materials really supported us. So we want to recognize them and just all the people who helped out, including all the good communication and support from the mayor and the councilman. So with that, councilors, do you have any questions or any more information you need? I'll answer some questions.
I was just going to ask, do you have any estimate of what this repair took as far as cost-wise?
We've done an internal estimate based on the quantities. We have that, but we don't want to share it yet because we haven't got the numbers back from the contractors, if that's okay.
You can share it with me later then.
Yeah.
Councilman Bills?
Jeff, thank you. Appreciate you getting involved and being there on the spot. Crystal?
Yeah.
Very thankful. John? Thank you very much.
Good job.
Pretty amazing, being in the private sector, seeing a project like this and the problems go and be able to turn it around in a short time and have the street back open this morning. So, very good.
It was pretty incredible, actually. That
I
we
was
got
very proud of this team. I think you, council, saw my text over the weekend, and what we talked about was number one priority is be safe, because you saw how deep that hole was. And making sure we're safe, that we do quality work, and then third was to get it open, and you guys did it all. And I was so incredibly proud, John, the entire team out there, for all of you. Having in-house construction, having the equipment, there's no way we could have met the needs of our public by doing that massive of a repair, the entire road, on a major roadway like that, if it hadn't been for the people that work here, and two, having the equipment, right? So having the skill set and the equipment, and then their willingness to come in with a smile on their face and work hard. Yeah.
Everybody had a great attitude, so it was good.
Is that great?
I did want to add, that cast iron line is pretty indicative of our downtown corridor. We have a lot of that pipe in the ground. We have old roads that we're working through, and pretty much where there's an old pipe, there's an old road above it. So that downtown zone is where our needs are. And we're either going to pay for it now, or we're going to pay for it now as these pipes get older and older. So we put together a 10 to 15-year plan where we're getting up to that 5-year replacement every year, which is super important. And this is kind of one of those examples of we really need to keep on that plan as we move forward with our water planning program and our irrigation system planning. And then when we do that, the benefit is we're also fixing our road. We've been talking about coordinating our utility projects, and we've been doing it, but more so even with streets. So we remove half a lane with a water pipe, we pave the other side, and we really hit those downtown areas. So with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Basically, the resolution says exactly what Jeff just shared. It will be in our minutes for the record, but it is actually that.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else? Thank you. Okay, we do have a proclamation this evening, and it is with Parks and Rec. So I'll go ahead and read it, and you guys can come forward as I read, but it's whereas Parks and Recreation programs are an integral part of the communities throughout this country, including Nampa, Idaho. And whereas our parks and recreation programs are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. Whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease. They provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. Whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreational areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, they protect groundwater, they prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Nampa recognized the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore, I, Debbie Clean, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim July 2025 in the City of Nampa as Parks and Recreation Month. And we have an amazing parks crew.
We do.
Jennifer, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council, for having me. I'm Jennifer Ayala. I am the business manager for Nampa Parks and Recreation, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about our Parks and Rec team. As the mayor stated, we do have a great Parks and Rec team. Our Parks and Recreation department is comprised of all 27 different parks throughout Nampa, the pathways. We have 2 amazing golf courses. We have the Harwood Recreation Center. We have 2 outdoor pools, sports facilities. We also have a cemetery and a lot of open green space and playgrounds throughout the parks. We want to just emphasize the benefits of Parks and Recreation here in Nampa. This is an initiative by the National Parks and Rec to do an annual July is National Parks and Rec Month. And it's a way to acknowledge Parks and Recreation and the power that it has to transform our daily lives, from providing us places to play, get fit, stay healthy, fostering new relationships, and forging a connection with nature. Our close-to-home community parks and recreation facilities provide essential services and improve our quality of life. One of the things we're doing this year is our July activities map, and I brought a sample that I can hand out if anybody's interested. We're encouraging kids and adults to pick up these activities maps and participate in the free or low-cost activities that Parks and Rec offers, such as the things that I just mentioned: exploring a playground, a pathway, competing in maybe our kids' triathlon, trying a fitness in the park, and then we, of course, do our free movies in the park. This year, we're doing our food trucks in the park, so lots of ways for people to get out, use our parks, and recreate with their family and friends. Everyone who completes a map, you participate in 6 activities throughout the month, but everyone who completes a map wins a prize. So we're just encouraging people to get out, use our park system, use our pathways, and get into nature. Sorry. Thank you for allowing me to share. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Mayor, I have a comment. My favorite park in Nampa is Midway Park, and this Friday is the silver screen on the green.
Yes, it
And I
is.
highly recommend everyone go out and check it out. It's a very, very,
We're showing Wild Robot.
yes, that's
So,
right.
Yes, come join us.
That sounds like fun.
Mayor, Jennifer, where do people pick up those maps?
Yeah, so they are located at the Harwood Recreation Center, as well as our 2 outdoor pools, Lincoln Pool and Lakeview Water Park.
Will you have one online on a social media they can print or something?
Yep.
Okay.
We do have it on our website as well. Thank you for reminding me, and we are advertising it on our social media. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you
Thank
guys
you.
want one while she's here? Yes, if you want to hand them out, that'd be great. And then, Amy, should we do a picture? Cody, you need to come up here with Jennifer, and we'll take a picture. Let's do a picture with them.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Since it's Cody's first time. Yeah. There you go, Cody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the time that we move into the public forum, but very first on the public forum, we have an acknowledgement, real quickly, for Rodney, for you and your team. This is pretty exciting. Rodney, would you like to share with us what this is? Guys, we're going to have to take another picture, but tell us about it. This is cool.
I'd like to invite Brianna
Come on,
Sun
Brianna.
up as well.
Yes.
Brianna came to me several years ago, maybe. It's been 2 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
It's been a
And
minute.
just, we'd been talking about how we get our public more educated about planning and zoning process and all that has to go into it, and just help the public to better understand planning. And this is an issue that planners have struggled with for years. And so she came forward with another member of our team, Parker Bodley at the time, and they presented a concept, and that was the Citizen's Guide to Planning. And for 12 months, She helped to, as long as Amy Bowman from the mayor's office was just so instrumental in helping us get this produced. We produced magazine articles each month and then a video to go with that article, just helping the public understand planning and how to interact with planners as well as with you in a public forum. So that's what we've done, and we submitted it for an award at AIC, and we're granted that award. So
This is the Garrett Nancolis City Achievement Award presented to the City of Nampa for the Citizens Guide to Planning. And so, Rodney, these guys were unable to be there to receive the award, so we did on their behalf. And I wanted them to come here so that they could actually receive it in front of City Council. So I would love to do a photo, but Amy, I want you in the photo. I need somebody to take the picture for you. So I don't know where, who do we have that could take a, Crystal, could you take a photo for us? I'm sorry. Yes, nope. Amy produced all the videos. Come on up, guys. She was huge. Okay, council, here we go. Another photo. And you guys hold this, and we'll get Amy. Okay, here we go.
What are we looking at? Okay.
John, you have to say 1, 2, 3. Be a girl.
Thank you so much. And John Spencer, again to you, a thank you for all your work this weekend. So, okay, so now it is time to move into the public forum. And I have a question. There's a lot of people here that were here early. How many of you were here for the public forum? How many of you got signed up? A few of you did, because we said, okay, good. So most of you will get to speak. I'm glad. Okay, here we go.
Madam Mayor, we did hit our maximum amount, which is why it's not available for people to sign up for public forum. I just wanted to.
Okay,
Should we
so
aware of that?
hopefully we can do 5. I know we're running a little bit late.
So our first speaker is Bradley Tibbs.
And as you guys come forward, you'll have 3 minutes and share your name and your address. And thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate the effort for you guys to come.
Good evening. I'm Bradley Tibbs, 1356 East Saramar Court, Eagle. My business is 301 11th Avenue North in Nampa. You may know the old Paul's Market that used to be on 11th and 3rd, and it's now Good Life Motors. That's my dealership. And I've put $1.1 million into that property since I bought it in 2020, and I need to expand beyond that property. And so I bought a property on Sherman Avenue near the railroad tracks, 2nd Street, and it's in an industrial zone. And my hope is to use the property to recondition my vehicles cosmetically for my dealership, upholstery repair, pulling out dings, detailing, that nature. I went to a pre-planning meeting in November last year, and I believe it was 6 people from the city helped me understand the requirements. One of those requirements, they said, was to widen Sherman Avenue and put in curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, among the other list of things. I'm happy to do all the other things, except I said in that pre-planning meeting, I can't do the road, the sidewalks, and the gutters, and widen the street. And I said, you know, every property around me is a dirt lot. We're in an industrial zone by the railroad tracks. There's no parks or schools or a lot of public traffic going through there. I'm right beside a cement company, an excavation company, bus barn, and everybody's dirt lots. And they said, well, it doesn't matter what your neighbors are doing, it's just what the code requires. So I left that meeting having said, well, I will have to sell the property and not develop it. Right now, it's a residential property not conforming to the zone. I'd like to convert it to a commercial property that does conform with the zone, but I do not have the budget to widen the street and do the other improvements. And then I did some digging and I found that actually the person that makes the decision on deferring those improvements was not in that meeting. And so I sent him an email, and he emailed back and said the staff would support deferring the street improvements, to my delight. And so I proceeded to spend $150,000 on all of the engineering and the stamps and the plans and materials to do the project, anticipating getting a permit. And then in June, I got an email from the city saying that they would require the street improvements. And so that's why I'm here. They said I had to come to the council meeting to plead my case and ask that, and so the reason that it wasn't officially recognized the first time is because I found out later in June that I have to attach a legal description of the property and send that with my email, and I didn't do that, so it didn't officially happen when I thought that it did and had proceeded to invest in this property. So I'd love to.
Madam Mayor, time.
Thank you so much for coming. And so it was Bradley, correct?
Yes.
Bradley, thank you for taking time to come and to bring this up. So tonight is not a decision-making, but I really appreciate you being here. Our staff has your contact information, is that correct? Mark, I'm going to defer to you on this. I'd like you to follow up. Let's schedule a meeting and we'll have a discussion about it. I'd like to better understand, and then we'll do a follow-up meeting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you all.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, our next speaker is Amanda Schaefer.
My name is Amanda Schaefer. My address is 1312 West Haskett Circle, Nampa, Idaho 83686. I'm the president of the Nampa American Legion Baseball. We've recently been notified by the Nampa School District that the district and the city are considering a land swap, which would involve our baseball field. Legion Field is at Lofholm Park. It's connected to what I like to call the community block because it's right next to the Boys and Girls Club, the Hispanic Cultural Center, and the field actually goes back to 1914. This year, Legion Baseball is celebrating their 100th year. American Legion Baseball is a national institution having thrived through World War, several national tragedies, times of great prosperity, as well as great despair. The league still stands behind the traditional values upon which it was founded. Nampa American Legion Baseball has taught hundreds of youth athletes the importance of sportsmanship, good health, and active citizenship. Our program is a promoter of equality, making teammates out of athletes regardless of their socioeconomic status. In a time right now where communities have been inundated with club teams and they charge astronomical fees, Nampa Legion Baseball has maintained a minimal fee for the summer. The players and parents are expected to help with fundraising and field maintenance, which also helps build community. Legion Baseball also has a reputation for serving young people who play for it by the way of college scholarships. The league annually awards a total of $25 to $500 for a player selected from each department based upon leadership, character, scholarship, and financial need. Nampa Legion Baseball has 3 teams in the summer and 2 teams in the fall. We utilize the field from May to October. Athletes from all high schools in Nampa come together and play as one. While being managers of the field, we have been able to be good stewards in the community, allowing utilization to Nampa Bay Ruth, Nampa Valley Little League, Boys and Girls Club, Nampa High School, NNU, and more. While I understand that some could say that Nampa Legion Baseball is more of a niche community program, I feel that it's a vital one to the youth of Nampa. To the Legionnaires, volunteers, and coaches, baseball is more than just a game. It embodies themes of respect, persistence, teamwork, and overcoming challenges. The City of Nampa and Legion Baseball has had a very long lease on this property, and we still have a lease on this property until December 31st, 2028. In this lease, it does state the city does have the right to reconstruct the baseball park facility at another location, so as long as continued availability of said facility is made to Legion. I understand that the City Council needs to consider all aspects of the land swap and do what they feel is in the best interest of the entire city. I'm just asking that as you do, remember that Nampa Legion Baseball has been in this community for a very long time, and we're an asset to the youth, and we need your support to continue to be so, even if it looks a little bit different. So, Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for sharing that. We have been approached by the school district regarding a land swap. And so we haven't really moved very far with that, but we have received that. And our understanding is that they would continue the lease and just exactly as it is, but we have not had an opportunity to really review it as a city council. It will come forward, and then we'll probably have, and Cody will be our liaison, head of our Parks and Rec department. So we'll have further discussions, but we'll find a sit-down time
Yeah, I
to
would
talk to you
appreciate that,
guys.
because it can't look exactly as it is, because the ownership changes, and so things have to change. And right now, they do say they want to work with us, but we want something to make sure that everybody knows we're out here, and we don't want to go anywhere.
Thank you so much for your volunteerism, because it takes a team of people that are committed.
It does.
Thank you for the hard work and the commitment long-term. That's very special.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will stay in touch as it moves forward. I mean, it hasn't moved anywhere yet,
Right.
but we're in
right.
receipt
Yeah,
of the letter.
It's super new, but we just wanted to let you know we're out here, so.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, our next speaker is Justin Buchholz.
Hello, my name is Justin Buchholz, 416 Meyer Avenue, Nampa, Idaho. First, Mayor Kling, council members, you recently stated that you were not running for re-election. Well, I've been a victim of a water issue, and you were there for us, so thank you. I want to take a moment to personally thank you for your dedicated service. Service to the city of Nampa, your leadership has made a lasting impression on our community. Your commitment to economic growth, the safety of our streets, and the infrastructure that you have brought to this city is greatly appreciated. The legacy that you're leaving behind can't be filled, but it can be stepped into with your guidance. With that, I am announcing that I will be running for mayor of Nampa. I appreciate you guys to hear me out that I am not a politician. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm a citizen. I've seen things go up, I've seen things go down. And I feel that every citizen needs to be heard. There shouldn't be a bunch of red tape. Shouldn't have to, if you need to speak with somebody, you shouldn't have to schedule a meeting. This is City Hall. We should be able to come in, say our piece, and if, follow up as necessary. So as me running for mayor, I will have an open door policy. You can come into this office at any time and speak with myself. I can't say for the council members because y'all have other jobs that you have to do. But this is going to be where I stand. And thank you for all of your time. I concede my time back to the council.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. Council, do you have any questions? Thank you for coming, and it's so nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, our next speaker is Jay Snyder.
My name is Jay Snyder. I live at 524 9th Avenue South, Nampa, Idaho. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm speaking tonight as a longtime resident of Nampa and an engaged citizen, a member of the old Nampa Neighborhood Working Group, and a founding member of the new Old Coots Advice Parlor. And so over the past several months, with my involvement in the community and the monthly neighborhood dinners that my wife and I host at our home, I've heard a recurring concern from neighbors, especially from working families and older residents, about the timing of public informational meetings and hearings here in Nampa. Understandably, when staff's involved, those meetings are scheduled during standard work hours. But the timing on that makes it nearly impossible for many of the residents who work full-time to attend and engage in the conversation. And these folks that I'm talking to are residents who care deeply about Nampa. They want to ask questions, they want to share ideas, they want to be part of the process, but they simply can't delay going to work in the morning to attend a 10 o'clock meeting, and they can't leave work early in the afternoon to attend a 4 o'clock meeting. I've also heard from older residents that they struggle with the online participation. While live streaming is available, using the chat functions and even unmuting themselves to participate can be a challenge to some. So this ends up leaving a portion of our community feeling shut out of important conversations. So Mayor Kling, I know your office works diligently to encourage people to input into the city process, and I'm thankful that you do that. But I think we as a city can do more. I think we should be engaging citizens in making civic involvement and engagement more accessible. So tonight, I would respectfully ask that as mayor and the city council, that you consider scheduling public informational meetings and hearings at a later time in the day, 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood during the weekdays. I think people would be able to attend better, and from what I am hearing from people, that's the time frame that they'd like. Nampa was built on strong community involvement, and I think the city's future will be even stronger the more voices we can have heard and involved in the process. So thank you for your time, and thanks for your service.
Jay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. So that concludes, I think, the number of public comment times that we can have, and we are running a little bit late. So thank you all for being here this evening. At this time, we are going to move forward. Unless, is there like one more person that did not get heard tonight that had intended to speak? Okay, seeing no one, thank you. So this is the time that we move into our public hearings, which is number 8 on the agenda. And we'll start with our first public hearing, 8.1 on the agenda. This is an action item. It is a variance of Nampa City Code 10-34-10B, prohibiting a chain link fence in a light industrial zoning district located at 3814 Airport Road. This is for Jeff Likes representing Michael Snow. The original concept is to allow the installation of a chain link fence on a street frontage for a trailer manufacturing storage yard. Is our applicant here this evening? Good evening. Go ahead and come forward. Go ahead and share your name and your address, and you'll have about 7 minutes to share what you're wanting to accomplish.
Awesome. Chad Jones, 1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho. I'm with ALC Architecture. I think I sent over a slide, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up really quick. Just go ahead and skip to the second page, if you wouldn't mind. So on the cover page, I have Trailers Plus, but it's actually Interstate Trailers. Trailers Plus is, they're all one entity. I just want to make that very clear. Oh, that one? Oh, thank you. I get to control this.
We hope it works. Yeah, hopefully it does. And point it towards you guys, right? Yeah, okay.
All
There you
right.
go.
Great. The second slide is the section of code, and the reason I put it up there is more of a reminder. This is a section of code that defines the design review portion of the code, which was adopted, I believe, April 3rd, 2023. Trailers Plus, Interstate Trailer, I should say, has been in this community for 20 plus years. Involving the community in manufacturing of trailers throughout not only just this community, but throughout the entire United States. And that's really meant there just as a reminder, this is the section of code that we're really talking about here. The second slide is the portion that we're really talking about. On the left side, I've identified the IL zone, which includes the airport. This site is directly north of the airport from the Warhawk Museum. If you were to follow that street south, you'd run right into the parking lot of the Warhawk Museum, just as a reference. Interstate Trailer goes, and I wish I had a pointer, goes just south of that red box that's at the corner of Garrity on 39th. So existing, there's a chain link fence with a secured top portion of that fence that extends all the way to that corner and then extends back to the west to right about that red section, actually to that red section of, and there's like a RV portion of a RV park that kind of borders that portion right there. Let me go back really quick. So if you see the red portion right there at the corner, that's the chain link fence that we're talking about, extending the existing chain link fence on the right-of-way, and then again, extending that fence to the corner. That red section used to be an RA zone, which has been purchased by Interstate Trailers Plus, to incorporate within their entire facility for nothing more than trailer storage, secure manufacturing material storage, some employee parking, and those type of things that need to be protected from the public. This slide right here indicates in image what I'm talking about. The top one on the right is where we're connecting to. You can see a chain link fence slatted with barbed wire. Bottom, same thing. All of that stuff that's in gray used to be a residence with outbuildings, pool, whatever was on this, now been demolished as part of an existing demo permit, which has been already accomplished. Prior to that, and including, we've given right away to on the road, we've rezoned, made that RA an IL zone at the expense of Interstate Trailer. I don't know if I really need to get into the criteria so much. You guys know what those criteria are, but I've listed them on this side as more of a reminder that these are the criteria for your approval. And in reading through these, I've always found them subjective in term, verb, and noun. And what they really mean sometimes is left up to us to decide, right? But this next slide, I want to remind you also the definition of code, because you can't just go to one section of code and depend on just that alone. This is a definition in code that talks about really what a fence is and really what we're talking about here. So we have an existing chain link fence of an existing manufacturing facility that is of one type. And the design review portion of the ordinance is telling us now we have to put 400 or 500 feet of ornamental fence, unsecured, typically, in a portion that really needs to be secured. This section of code that talks about the definition talks about declared. This is an IL zone, which is light industrial, manufacturing of type, that really needs to be protected from the public. An ornamental fence, yes, can be secured, but to what expense? This is a facility that spent millions of dollars, millions, over the last 3 years in expanding the plant, bringing in workforce, bringing in revenue to the community. And we're not asking for anything in favor, but we're asking for you to remind yourselves that in definition, we're trying to do what the code says, and we're trying to build a fence that meets what's already there, nothing different, meet the facades, meet what's makes the most sense. So I really put these slides together honestly last Thursday morning after I received the staff report, at first in wonderment. why we haven't looked at the entirety of the code and used logic in interpreting it. Because we're not asking for special privilege. We're not asking for anything other than what's been there for forever. And I know that's a loose argument, but if you go to the let me go back to this slide right here. If you go all the way back up to where that red dot is, right by Garrity, on the other side.
Madam Mayor, time.
Am I done? I am, but I just wanted to point out, but that's a car salvage place. And I wanted to point out in definition, this should be a declared use of what we're doing there. I do have a representative from Trailers Plus here, or Interstate Trailer. I'm sure she would love to talk.
Well, when we get to the public hearing, excuse me, my mic was off. When we get to the public hearing, come forward and speak for 3 minutes, whether you're listed or not, because we'll ask that opportunity. And then after public hearing, we're going to give you an opportunity to come back. And so if you have notes that you need to take from comments or anything more to say, you'll come back in just a few minutes, so we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so is this Damien? Is this yours? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Damian Snodgrass, Associate Planner. So the requested action item today is a variance for the current design review code requiring, not allowing chain link slatted fences within the IL zone. And this is just for an installation for this kind of fence. So some of the property details, currently it is zoned IL and the comprehensive map designates this area as industrial. This whole corridor is set to be industrial. Some of the property history is that the parcel in question was annexed and zoned into RA. It has been rezoned as of 2020 into the IL district, IL zone, and a pre-application meeting was held regarding this in June of 2024. And as you can see, the whole corridor next to the Warhawk Museum off airport is all industrial uses. Here is a site plan of the fence that is in question when regards to this application. So here are the applicable regulations for a variance. We will cover these later in the findings, as well as the criteria that are necessary for this approval. And here is the applicable regulations regarding fence design. So as stated, that the use of chain links and chain link slats along any street frontage shall be prohibited in the IL zone. This code was changed in 2023. Is that correct, Rodney? 2023. The intent of this was to improve the design of industrial uses when further redevelopment happens. And so moving forward, ILS uses will have this design review code. So staff analysis of the land uses. Across the street, we currently have the Warhawk Museum, and the applicant's argument is to keep consistency with the industrial uses that are in the surrounding area, as well as other fencing along the current trailer Interstate Plus. For correspondence, we received no correspondence regarding this application. And here are the relevant facts. So, Nampa City Code 1034-10B prohibits the use of chain link fence and slats along any street frontage. The adjacent Nampa Municipal Airport, adjacent to the property, uses a similar style fence as requested. However, it has been installed prior to the adoption of the design review code. The applicant is requesting the ability to have consistent fencing around the surrounding industrial uses. The current slats on 39th are used to screen industrial uses from the residential uses to the east. Chain link and barbed wire is used for security. Decorative fencing types can be used for security. The applicant states that an ornamental fence would be detrimental to the safety of their goods and employees. As evidenced in the staff report, nearby industrial uses have the same fencing type as requested by the applicant. There are no unique site characteristics that make it difficult to meet the current code. The property matches in character to the surrounding industrial uses. This includes the interstate next door to the current parcel. The property is flat in nature with industrial uses and materials and storage all nearby. And all future developments in industrial zones and the IL zone will require to meet the design review code as 1034-10B. So with the following criteria, staff has found that the literal interpretation and enforcement of the regulation would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary physical hardship is inconsistent with the objectives of this title. Staff has not found this to be met. There is extraordinary site characteristics applicable to the property involved or the intended use of the property, which do not generally apply to other properties classified in the same zoning district. Staff has not found this to be met. Literal interpretation and enforcement of the regulation would deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by the owners of other properties classified in the zoning district. Staff has not found this to be met. And that granting the variance would not constitute a grant of special privilege and is inconsistent with the limitations on other properties classified in the same zoning district. And staff has not found this to be met. The reason that these were not found to be met is that all current and future developments at time of this code would have to meet this design review code. Any parcels along this corridor that would have to be redeveloped would also be subject to the design review code. And here are your potential motions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
I'll just point out the obvious. In the report, it indicates that there are other stack stone, masonry, mortar, different wall types that are available that would provide full screening capability that a decorative fence might not, but they would also fall under the criteria of what's allowed by ordinance. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman Halverfield. That'd be correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Question, comment. It seems like 2 to 3 months ago, we had a variance up the street from this property that was granted, I believe, and changes to accommodate what they wanted to do. Is that recollect or?
Yeah, Mayor, yes, there was one recently that was approved. It was a short section of a property that wasn't required to put, if I remember, I'm trying to remember the details there. Maybe what I'll do is I'll try to research the details of what was approved, and then I can speak to that after we have the public testimony.
So it seems like, so it's a comment, I guess I'm asking staff that we implement changes to the code wanting to see certain upgrades, or it seems like new industrial parks coming in have a better opportunity to establish the fencing criteria and other beautification criteria, yet in an area that's been around for 50 years and used in multiple ways. And then we go to try to apply the new standards. We run into a constant agitation in trying to have one property upgrade from another. I'm trying to understand then, when we implement the code changes, do we make any allowance for those type of pre-existing conditions that properties may be in? And do we have the ability to grant a variance on this?
Who would like to answer that question?
Mayor, maybe I'll give it a shot and then you follow. That would be good. I think this is a struggle that I think every city council struggles with, right? You make a code change, you're hoping for the long-term change of an area, and each individual project that comes before you, it's difficult because it's a new thing. It's a change in code from what we've allowed in the past, and so Staff has struggled with that too. You know, how do we tell this individual that they have to do this new code when nobody else has had to in the past, and now they need to? But the facts are that code gets adopted, and you have, in my opinion, you have to think of the long-term impacts and the benefits of implementing that code. Variances are approved or denied on a case-by-case basis according to the merits of that individual project. And we also have to look at code if we continue to have variances approved over and over again. Past council has directed us to, attorney has directed us to look at code and make changes to address those concerns. So if it were variances that continue to get approved, I would say that we need to look at the code again. If it's just that we want to see a change over time, that's truly a decision you have to make before you, because all staff can do at that point is just follow code. Hopefully that's a good starting point for you.
Thank you, Rodney. Mayor, Councilman Bills, was your question more about how do other properties continue to have a certain, for example, fence, while other new properties are required to a higher standard?
Well, I'm really trying to understand from what's in our packet, where it's got the 4 line items that were shown by staff saying staff has not found this to be met, and then the 5th one is staff has found it to be met. So I'm looking for the ability to provide the variance, I guess, that we're on legal standing. And in the process, I'm questioning that. I understand the concept of trying to change things over, but the reality is very few properties change over from their uses. And then you have 2 or 3 that do, and then they get hit with the new codes and the new requirements. And the next 10 years, they stare out their property and looking at what's still dilapidated for 40 years. And it's a real rub. I mean, candidly, any one of us. So I'm trying to see, number one, are we on good grounds to grant a variance? And 2, it seems like there needs to be a modification to code. I understand if we go to an industrial park, bare land, been farmed out by Highway 16, we're changing to an industrial park, like we've had several of those applications. I understand the fencing requirement, upgrades and changes there. But boy, going back into something that's been around for 50 years, I'm struggling. So I'm looking for the guidance that the variance is legal if council grants it.
Mayor, Councilman Bills, that's a determination really for this body to make, right, based off the facts that are before you, testimony, staff, and any other rebuttal that might come up. In terms of whether you can legally or not, you have to have facts to support the conclusion, right? It can't be arbitrary or capricious or just something any of you want, right? It has to be something that there's a rational basis in the record to support your decision or your conclusion. And that goes for each council member here. If you find a fact or facts that support it, you can vote accordingly. The other properties that may have an old design or fence, they have what's called a legal non-conforming use. And what that means is people might call it a grandfather right. That can't be enlarged or enhanced. There's some limitations there. It's generally protected, but there are instances where a city can come in and say, notwithstanding that there is a grandfather right, you do have authority to make them come up to a new standard, if that ever was the will of this council. So you, rather than letting them be locked in for time immemorial, you could say, look, we do want you to be elevating your standards to match those in your area. But for tonight's decision, I would just reiterate, the facts are what they are, and you arrive at that decision based off your review of it, and it just cannot be arbitrary or capricious. It's got to have a rational basis, whatever your vote may be on it.
And Mayor, I'm sorry to jump in here, but I'm sure you would say this, that we still need to hear a public hearing before we make any determination.
Thank you, Rodney. Okay, so we'll maybe come back to add questions after the public hearing if we have any. Are there any other questions right now for staff?
Mayor, I do, maybe for staff or just to throw this out for the applicant so that during public hearing they can maybe get some numbers, but I'm trying to look at it objectively. I am one that doesn't like the chain link. I don't like the slats when they get ripped up, so I was very in favor of the code change, but I'm trying to see, I can see what Councilman Bills is saying as far as his points. And so I guess my thoughts are, do we have any numbers at all of how much it would put the applicant out to change the fence out with different types of fencing? I know probably you guys don't. I don't know if the applicant has done any number crunching. That would be something I'd be interested in seeing if that would be available. So just to kind of get holistically what that would look like for the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. If we have questions, we'll come back to them. So this is a public hearing, and do we have anyone signed?
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone that signed up to provide public testimony.
Okay. This is an opportunity for those that are here that did not get signed up, and so I think our applicant said that we have someone that would like to speak, correct? Did you have someone that you wanted to speak during the public testimony? This would be the time. So you can come forward and give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes, and thank you.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Hill. My address is 1571 North C Street in Middleton. I am here representing Interstate Trailers. Address is 3800 Airport Road here in Nampa. Quick history. Chad gave you brief history. Interstate Trailers has been in the Nampa area for over 30 years. We manufacture trailers. We're a proud manufacturer, USA-built product. What brought me here tonight in representing ownership is to discuss this portion or corner portion of the fence that we are working to or looking to get a variance. We began this process with the corner lot in approximately 2021, 2022, purchasing the lot with the expectation to be able to use it for material storage, expansion of our plant. As was previously mentioned, we've spent upwards of about $4.5 million in capital improvements at our property. We employ 180 people at our Nampa plant, and we support, and we've kept our corporate office here in Nampa to support about 950 employees nationally with 3 other additional manufacturing plants across the country. We chose Nampa because this is where we started and this was our home. We are somewhat landlocked or constrained at our manufacturing plant in Nampa, and every little inch helps us grow. The property was purchased in 2022. We began the process of rezoning, and part of that was a right-of-way easement dedication where we gave up property to the city in agreement for creating or finishing the rezone. At that time, our full intention was to continue the same fence that we had on both sides on 39th Street and Airport to finish off the corner of the property. We since have stumbled into this 2023 rewrite of no chain link in the area. So that's why we found ourselves here. We have historically worked with ALC, and they've been our guide and our partner in trying to navigate here with you both, the mayor and the city council. I'm happy to take any questions about the fence. I think one of the council members had a question about price or something on the fence. This approximately 600 linear square feet, the two 90-degree angles, is in chain link, is about $25,000. If we were to do that in wrought iron, that would be 4 or 5X. We would have to have some type of security on the top. We're required for insurance purposes, risk and liability types to make sure that our property is secured. We have gas tanks, we have robots, we have iron, we have lots of things that are very hazardous. And of course, millions and millions of dollars in material and inventory.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions?
I do, Mayor.
Yes.
That was my next question is because of the insurance for the coverage, you've got to have a better fence.
Correct, that we
That's
are
the
required.
bottom line, yeah.
Or we'll be penalized and it would be costly, yes. We've had chain link and haven't had really to cross that path, but just recently trying to address what we need to do with that property. Anything that doesn't provide that same level of security would be, it would be risk for us.
I was thinking about that, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Because I'm not a fence expert, can you explain to me what about chain link makes it more secure than the other types of fencing?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think there was a council member mentioned about block or things like that. I think chain link, it's easily replaceable if damaged versus block. That's a little bit more involved. Chain link is more cost effective than, we're using comparison of wrought iron. I imagine block is more expensive than chain link, but maybe not at the wrought iron price. So it's kind of twofold. You can also offer extended security on the top by way of barbed wire to ensure that you're completely safe and secure.
And do you have the barbed wire on it currently?
We do, currently.
And how tall is that fence?
Help me, Chad. 6 feet fence.
So it's a 6 feet fence with barbed wire on the top?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening that had intended to testify on this particular issue? Seeing none, this is an opportunity for our applicant, Chad, to come back and answer any further questions or make any final closing comments. So go ahead and come forward if you don't mind. I know I'm catching you off guard, but come on up.
Mayor?
No, this would be questions.
Sorry to
yes.
interrupt.
Yes.
I just thought I'd respond. We have tried to find any variances in the area for fences. We did have an annexation that happened. The one I was thinking of was annexation on Happy Valley and Airport, and that was an existing fence, and so it was a legal non-conforming fence. I can't find any in the area that we've approved a variance for a fence, though, a chain link fence.
Thank you. Okay. So the other property, and I was just trying to go back to a picture, your other properties that are contiguous to this all have a chain link fence currently, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and they have the slats. The picture that you showed, they have the slats in them.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, they have the hurricane slats with the barbed wire on the top at that
Okay.
6-foot level.
So this ask is to continue, is to go ahead and take it around this corner?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. Do you have any closing comments or anything else you would like to share with us?
No, actually, thank you for bringing that up. That's perfect. And that was exactly what I was going to bring up as well, as, and I think Tracy alluded to, actually, she didn't allude to it, she stated it very clearly. They've been here for a long time, longer than I've known, and they're not going anywhere. They're gonna be in this community for a very, very long time. So, really, to be quite honest, I'm in absolute support of the design review portion of this code. I like it. I like it for new development. I think it's a good thing. And I was really happy to see that the city of Nampa put that within your ordinance, because I think more communities need those type of things. When we're looking at sites that have been here for a while, it kind of doesn't make sense to break them up and to do something that doesn't make sense. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Great, thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
Are there any alternatives if we were to allow the the chain link to exist? Are there any alternatives to the slats to put in there? Is there an upgraded type of slat? Is there any other type of material?
You know, there's a lot of different ways to obscure a fence, and one of the first things that came to my mind is, why don't we, put like a climbing vine up there, or some sort of vegetation, and you see those a lot in like Greenbelt or those type of areas, and I don't know if it makes sense in this area, only because we're dealing with water. You have to make it live. And there's a maintenance aspect to that. And I don't know if this is the right area for it. It doesn't make sense. Other types of ways of doing this is, you can do partial fences with barbed wire on top and, hybrid type of obscuring type of screening devices. But then we're, lack of a better term, not making it, continuous, or the continuity is kind of broken up, and it doesn't relate well to the buildings and the things around it the way it used to be. So now what are we doing? Rock, masonry fences, sure, you could do that. You could, they make all kinds of prefabricated type of fences that obscure. I don't know, I always find myself on the owner's side of, well, what am I looking at maintenance-wise 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And what happens if somebody misses that corner and damages my fence? And what's it going to cost for me to replace that? It's on my dime. So I don't know how to answer that question other than yes, there are.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, as long as there are no other questions for our applicant, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So this is an opportunity for council to actually have discussion and/or ask questions of staff if needed. What is the will of the council on this?
Mayor, question for Rodney. Rodney, if we were to require some sort of just frontage improvement there, if we said, yes, that can be fine with the chain link, but we want some shrubbery or something in front of it, is there enough space of right-of-way there on that side that we could require that?
And/or water.
And/or water, yes.
Hard to tell. Let me zoom into the project and see if I can measure how far we are from property line.
Mayor, Councilman Jangila, while he's measuring that, there is not pressurized irrigation available in the area. However, the code does allow in areas where we do not have pressurized irrigation to have a second water meter that you can do the irrigation off of. So there would be the ability to put vegetation in with that scenario.
Thank you, Daniel. And would that, how much do you know anticipated cost that would add to the business owner?
Mayor, Councilman Jangila, right off the top of my head, I would guess for a new water tap and a meter and that with all the applicable city fees for the connection, you're probably looking around the $35,000 to $4,000 cost for that second water meter.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes.
And Rodney, I'm looking at the criteria that has to be met. Because if we are going to approve the variance, we need to find reasons and findings of fact to be able to support that. Number 4 is the one I'm having a real tough time trying to think through. Will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent. Are there other areas within the city, not even within the city, within this area that have had to meet this new code change requirement? Because you mentioned nobody's gotten a variance. That site I understand. But has anybody else purchased land and had to do these improvements that we would then be giving a special privilege to this group when others have had to meet that code? And if so, how close?
That's a great question, Mayor and Council. The southwest corner of Happy Valley and Airport came in And they are a brand-new construction, so they would have to meet the code in that area. So how far that is, do you know how far it is from Happy Valley?
So
Half a mile?
before you run down that rabbit hole any further, I hear new construction, and I hear that from David Bills' point of view. Any old properties that might have changed hands that didn't necessarily get the grandfather?
Do you know?
Not that I am aware of. However, this property was rezoned after the design review code had taken place and purchased for industrial use. So at the time that this would have been rezoned, it would have been subject to that new code if any new development happened on the property.
So this code was in place prior to the purchase of the property, and there could have arguably been awareness that this was something subject to your purchase that you would have to go through.
I was going to say, if I remember correctly, they said they were purchasing the property in 2021, possibly 22, and the code was put in place in 23 after they purchased the property.
So that's when.
My apologies. I had the dates mixed around with the pre-application meeting that was held on this, which would have been after.
Mayor, then I'm confused what the rezone in 24. Did I get that wrong? I wrote that down.
That was my apologies. I had the dates mixed around between the rezone and the pre-application meeting that was held regarding this application. So
Okay.
the rezone happened in 2020. The pre-application meeting regarding the variance happened in 2024.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Regarding the variance, the pre-application regarding the variance in 24, and the purchase took place in 23.
2020.
2020, and so we changed the code after they had purchased the property. Okay, thank you. Further questions?
Mayor, I'm just going to make a motion, see if it goes or not. This is close to the timing change, so I'm just going to move to approve the variance as basically stated on the.
Could you put the motion on the screen, please? There we go. So you're going to, your motion is to approve based on
Yes.
the wording
Yes, ma'am.
provided.
Second.
Second, yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the variance number 10-34-10B as stated in the packet.
Mayor, I just think we need a little bit more facts to support the decision because most of the facts that staff found
Were for denial.
were for denial.
Did you have any for approval? The last one,
The last
right?
one.
That they won't cause significant harm.
Right.
I can
Well-
conjure up a couple if you would like.
Well, I think that, well, thank you. However, I think that the timing of this land and property and changing of our code was somewhere confusing to me. Now, the 1024-285, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public health and safety. But it is a safety issue because of the type of material that they're storing. So that we need to protect the public from. So that would be probably the most important. And if Councilman Griffin wants to chime in, I'm good with me. But that's my most focal point.
I don't know how much I should, I don't know that I'm in a place to support the variance approval because I believe at some point, if this is the intent, we have to go through the hard process or every new purchaser of property, I feel, could argue that this variance was in place. You do have an argument in the sense, in my mind, that you had purchased the property, but now you're changing the zone. So I go back and forth. But if the council, I figured the criteria that must be met, number one, the physical hardship could be potentially monetary in cost and insurance loss. The second issue, extraordinary site characteristics, the security measure requirement that they need to protect of assets with a barbed wire fence. Potentially, you could argue that the fencing material, chain link, is what's sufficient to be able to host for that chain link fence. Number three, literal interpretation. Everyone else that got grandfathered in still has chain link fence. It would actually be out of the norm to have an upgrade in this area unless it's a new development. And I still don't know on number 5 that I can lawyer something up. I don't know on that one. I have a real tough time, but maybe Councilman Bills might or Councilman Reynolds.
Do you have the sufficient information you need?
One point to make, and we heard some comments there, so we could draft some formal findings based on some of the conversation here. I will note that state code specifically calls out financial is not a hardship, so we can't use that as a hardship for the first point.
Does it work that they purchase the property, after they purchase the property with the intent to expand their business, they have an adjoining property that the code changed? Is that a sufficient?
I mean, that's a fact that we
That's a
can
fact.
state. And
What about on the same, a fiscal hardship? There is significant business with significant employee and they need space, and the potential difference in sizing of fencing could cause a physical constraint to the land to host what they're needing to do there. Real stretch, but could it potentially, it was stated, so I don't know if that's something that could.
Mayor, fiscal needs to be kicked out of that conversation, I think, but the rest of it, you know, the business is, it's needing the space, that is potentially, I mean, it's a fact, and we could include that in the findings of fact, I believe.
Mayor, if I may, just a point of clarification. What Rodney's referencing about the hardship, I've seen in other jurisdictions where the city may explicitly state that their financial hardship doesn't count. Our code doesn't state that. The code section in statute reads that it has to be a showing of an undue hardship because of characteristics of the site. And so that's the state standard, is undue. And in some instances, a city, like I said, might preempt that and say it can't be fiscal. Ours does not, though. And that being said, there is an argument from what I've read that a characteristic of the site can be the timing of when you buy it, right? Not just the physical dimensions as well. That can be a characteristic.
Thank you for that. So Rodney, hopefully you have what you need. Okay, so there has been a motion and a second. Yes.
Before we jump into that,
Okay.
I wasn't on council in 2023. Was the intention of the code change at the time to enhance and modify old area and beautify it when there was a changing of hands? Was that the intention, or was the intention on new growth and new development?
I think we have differing opinions here because I'm thinking it's new growth, new development. But
I was thinking it was holistically.
Yeah.
everything.
And that's where I toss and turn. I think this is one of those moments where we might be setting a serious precedent, especially in this area, if we allow a variance. We just heard it, a whole lot of that area is chain link fencing. And they could, if they have a wise property manager or somebody who's helping them through the sale, say, well, this variance has gone through once before, they'll go through once again. So that's what I toss and turn with. I wasn't here in 2023, so I appreciated the comment.
Go for it, Mayor.
Comment I'd like to make is we take an area and the bulk of the fencing in the area is chain link, and hardly anybody's upgraded fencing in this whole area, including the city of Nampa. It's one thing to have bare ground that's ag ground on the north side of the south side of the airport, and want to see some upgrades in those changes, et cetera. It seems like when we make these code changes and modifications, we need to take into account existing areas that are predominantly chain link fence or predominantly one type of fence. And then to say, oh, we're going to change to masonry fence as time goes. I don't know. I mean, again, I understand it if we're taking over ag ground along Highway 16 and we want to have a certain grade of fencing in the industrial area, something that's been existing for 40, 50 years. and then ourselves with the airport. I don't see us saying budgeting and changing our fence and upgrading, leading by example. So I understand that the code got changed, but the code was changed across the city, and sometimes we need to go back and maybe adjust the code and say there's certain areas of the city it totally makes sense to leave as is. I think this is one of those. That's why I think the variance, however you write it, I think the variance is warranted, but that's me.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman, yes.
Rodney, what is the zoning of the airport?
It is IL, light industrial.
Okay. So, number 4, granting of the variance will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations on other properties classified in the same zoning district. The airport is IL, it's the same zone, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then number 1 on there, the literal interpretation and enforcement of the regulation would result in a practical difficulty. Absolutely it would. This property is all fenced in this chain link. It looks nice. It's well kept. It has slats in it that are a nice earth tone color. And a practical difficulty, common sense and practicality says that you match what's already there without changing the whole property. So I don't see how we can't meet those criteria in at least 2, if not 3 ways. So.
Thank you, Councilman Reynolds. Okay, is there any further comment? Okay, let's call for the vote.
Jingula.
Please keep your slats nice. Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
I'm a no.
Griffin.
No.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. So that concludes that hearing. And we are going to pause and take a break. It's 7:15, and so this is a time we had previously agreed to take a short break in the meeting. We do have 3 more public hearings. Let's just take a little over a 5-minute break, and we'll be right back at it in just a moment. Thank you all.
no, man.
Okay, I think we're ready to get started again. So here we go.
You're her favorite. Okay.
Okay, I think we're ready to get started. So we, 1, 2, 3, 4. We do have a quorum here, so we're going to move to 8.2. It's an action item. This action item is a vacation of a 500 square foot portion of the alley right-of-way between Lot 1 and Lot 12 of Block 109 for Griffith and King's Addition. This is to the 2 neighboring parcels in the RS Single Family Residential Zoning District located between 401 and 323 7th Avenue North. This is for Jason Redman, and the original concept is the vacation of unused right-of-way to ensure existing home is not across the property line and to allow future property boundary adjustment for an additional home to be built. Is our applicant here this evening? Good evening. Thank you. Come on forward. Give us your name and your address and go ahead and explain what you're wanting to do in addition to this.
Thank you. Jason Redmond, 401 7th Avenue North, Idaho. I believe they said they were going to put up the plat map while I spoke. Here we go. So you can see the highlight. Ooh. Can we go back to the photo for a minute? Here we go. This is the shape of our lot. The area that we're asking to be vacated is this small section here that you can see actually overlaps our house. The house was built about 30 years ago, and when we purchased the property, we weren't aware. We assumed that it having been permitted and inspected and all that, it was actually on our property. The neighbors to the south were having a survey done to work with, they're looking at doing a property split. I'm not ready to talk about the details of that. I don't know that it's terribly relevant. And as you can see, the alleyway here is dead ends halfway through the property. So when it was originally platted in the 1880s, that was where they decided the alley should end. And we're just requesting that the alley be vacated and split along the existing fence line, where the part on our side of the fence comes to our property and the other side of the fence goes to the neighbors. Having gone through the process, I don't believe that the land has any particular value to the utilities, to the city. Like I said, as it doesn't go through the property, there's not really an access route there. And I would like to have my house actually be on property that I own.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Yes.
So a little more specific, trying to confirm that the area that's getting vacated is outlined in the tan orange lines.
It's a piece of what's on the tan orange. So it's from this corner to this corner to this corner to here. I believe you had another map that's not the photo that showed. There we go. There's a better. So what's shown there is, I believe, the part that ends up being part of my parcel, and then there's a matching part on the south side that ends up being, sorry, no, that's the neighbors, the part that is going to the neighbors. Mine is the flip side to the north of that, because this is the map from the Omar Sosa side. So it would be here, this little 500 square foot area right here.
So the split, is it equal land or equal measurement between what's going to you and what's going to the neighbor?
Within a couple square feet.
Okay.
And the neighbor is here. We have previously discussed it and came to an agreement that dividing it along the existing fence line was appropriate. I believe that the text of that was in the, it was definitely in the application. I believe it was in what was submitted to the council by the planning department.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Just for clarification purposes, your access is off of 7th Avenue North, is that correct?
That's correct.
So
The
it's a
long
flag-
skinny part that comes down is my driveway.
Okay, so it's a flag lot then, and then the portion of the alley or whatever it is that's being vacated, there are no utilities in that area that the city needs to maintain?
That's correct. I have the letter from the utilities included in the packet showing that they do not have any utilities present there and do not see any need to keep the access to it for future development.
Right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions with the council at this time? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go to staff report, public hearing, and then we'll come back to you to answer any further questions, and you can make any closing comments.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Damian Snodgrass, Associate Planner. Today, we have a request for the vacation of a portion of right-of-way at 401 and 323 7th Avenue North. The concept is to vacate this right-of-way so that this homeowner can have his home on his property as well as future property boundary adjustment. So the current property details, the current property is zoned RS6 and the surrounding properties are RS6 and IL Light Industrial. As stated before, the applicant's request is they want to do a property boundary adjustment, and in doing so, found out that they had this old piece of right-of-way that was left between their properties, that left their properties not in conformance. Here is a rough area of the area to be vacated. But as described by engineering, the current legal descriptions are not correct. So that is one of the requests from engineering, is to get the correct legal descriptions of what is to be vacated. Here are the conditions of approval: that the applicant owner must comply with all city codes, policies, and standards in place at time of property development, and comply with the engineering comments to submit for review with the engineering department for approval. And this is due to the legal descriptions being wrong. Here are the proposed findings of fact. First, that processing the vacation request for easements and or rights of way shall be executed within accordance to the provisions of Idaho State Code. Staff has found this to be met. And the second, when the procedures set forth herein have been fulfilled, that the City Council may grant the request to vacate with such restrictions as they deem necessary. When easements cut across usable developable property, it creates a constrained site that can make it difficult to develop. Vacating the easement is necessary to develop this property and comply with the current city codes. So staff found this to be met. Here are your potential motions, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councilman Bills?
So one of the write-ups here is to allow future property boundary adjustment for an additional home to be built, but that's not part of this application.
No, that is
It
correct.
just means that something's going to get cleaned up and the property could be used for other than bare land.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman Bills. That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. This is a public hearing, and
Madam Mayor, no one is requesting to do public testimony on this item.
is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this particular item? Seeing no one, this is an opportunity for the applicant. Do you have any other comments that you'd like to make? I do not, ma'am. Thank you. And council, do you have any questions? Okay, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what is the will of council?
Mayor?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Reynolds. I'll second.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the project as stated on the screen for approval with recommended conditions and proposed findings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
You're done. There you go. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, 8.3. 8.3 is an action item. This is a variance of Nampa City Code 10-8-5B requiring a lot size to be a minimum of 6,000 square feet and a maximum of 12,000 square feet in an RS6 single-family residential zoning district located at 1405 East Amity Avenue. This is for Jason Perkins. The original concept was a variance of lot size split for less than a required 6,000 to be approximately 5,849 square feet for each lot and to allow future development of a duplex build on each lot. Is our applicant here this evening? Okay, I don't see an applicant here. Rodney? Or Damien? Damien, is our applicant aware that they have a meeting tonight?
The staff report was sent to the applicant on Thursday morning. I did not receive a response.
Okay.
However,
Well, if it meets the will of the council, I would ask for continuation of this item to a future council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And date certain of, we could put it on the 21st or August 4th. I don't remember what we have on the 4th, but I don't think it's a heavy meeting.
Can I ask a clarification question?
Mhm. Yes, you may. So Councilman Bills has a question while you're looking that up.
So just in the summary description, it says to allow the future development of a duplex build on each lot. So the intent of this is to clean up or to have the variance towards the square footage, but then to be able to divide it into 2 lots, so total of 4 living units?
that would be correct
In a single family?
in an RS6 zoning.
Mayor, they would need to come in with a conditional use permit to achieve that.
Did it come in with,
Did it come in with a CUP?
It's got to follow the variance because they can't even get the CUP until a variance is permitted.
It just seems like both should be there. It should be an open, so that's why it was confusing to me.
and why are we putting duplexes in the single family? It's a question, maybe,
It's a permitted use in code with a conditional use permit.
with a conditional use permit.
Okay, I was asking for the clarification for the benefit of everybody because I was struggling to understand. It seemed like the variance was asking permission to put duplexes in an RS zone beyond the square footage issue.
Yeah, we talked about that just a minute ago, and unfortunately, the wording is incorrect. The variance is not for duplexes. The variance is for the lot size.
Were you going to come back and share with us that an additional conditional use permit would be required? Is that going before planning and zoning then?
That has to go before planning and zoning.
But doesn't come back to us?
That's correct, yeah.
So we come get the lot size figured out, so then we can go ask for what we want to do.
That doesn't come back to us?
That's
It
correct.
doesn't come back to us.
That's correct.
That feels different for me.
Well, we don't have to continue it. What is the will of council? Go ahead. We had a motion on the table. We could withdraw the motion and take different action, or we can continue to move forward.
I'll withdraw my motion if
Okay, who
Councilman
said?
Bills wants to discuss this.
Okay, who seconded it? Did you second the motion?
I didn't think so.
Oh,
I didn't second it.
okay, the motion
that
is
for me?
withdrawn,
Sorry.
and the motion is withdrawn at this point. Yes,
Mayor, if I may ask a question
Yes.
to staff. Damien, what method did we serve him notice of the public hearing?
Mayor and council and Preston, we send out a notice when we, just like we do for every neighbor, we send it to their physical mail. And that happens a long time beforehand, as soon as we establish that date. And then we also send out an email beforehand. And then we send another email. So we send 2 emails and a written notice.
Okay. And then a follow-up question, Mayor, if that's all right. The Thursday reminder, was that another email or?
That's correct, yeah.
Mayor, my question was based on the due process rights of the applicant. This is their application and their right that could be if they, depending on the outcome of this vote, they could challenge with a takings analysis or a judicial review. That said, just wanted to understand how the applicant was noticed and their due process rights. So I think that would be helpful for you in deciding whether to continue this or take it up tonight.
So, clarifying question. You're probably going to ask the same deal. In your legal opinion, was he properly notified and given proper notice to be able to move forward with whatever decision that happens tonight without him being present, or her, him, her, I don't know, him?
Mayor? Yeah, staff went above and beyond what is required in state code for notice. And what the standard is, it's constructive notice, not actual notice. And so we have to satisfy that standard. That's what the courts would look at.
Okay. Thank you. So what is the will of the council?
Well, if we're going to take action, I would deny, because I guess without the second part of the equation, in my opinion, then we're getting the ability to go to lesser than 6,000 minimum. And then what we want to do is, we got that approved, then we can change zoning or get the CUP to then put something in that isn't allowed by our code. It seems, it just doesn't seem to balance with our code. And I guess personally, I'd just make a motion if we're able to deny the variance.
Mayor, if I may, just to follow up on Councilman Bill's comments, though the applicant is not here tonight, you still need to make a finding on the record.
And it's a public hearing. Do we need to open the public hearing?
You do need to open the public hearing.
Okay.
Staff needs the opportunity to present, and if the applicant is not here, obviously you'd be limited to just public testimony, if there would be anybody here. And you have the material submitted in the packet and application, and that is what you have to base your decision on. Go through that same 4 or 5 elements. And I know that there's a step 2 that we're looking ahead to this conditional use permit, but that cannot be a basis for your decision tonight. You have to be within the 4 corners of the variance elements and standards.
Okay. So with that, shall we proceed with the staff report? Okay. Let's go ahead and move forward with our staff report.
Extra detailed if you could.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Damien Snodgrass, Associate Planner. I am filling in for Christy Watkins since she is currently out, so I may be referring to Rodney a lot on this application. So the requested item is a variance to Nampa City Code 10-8-5B, requiring the minimum lot size to be 6,000 square feet with a maximum of 12,000 square feet within an RS6 single-family residential zoning district. All right, so here are some of the property details. There's a 12-inch water main, 15-inch sewer main, and pressurized irrigation, so there is access to services at the property. It is considered in public interest, thought of a thoughtful and efficient use of underutilized space behind these properties. Staff found that it was appropriate and compatible with its surrounding environment. There's a need for infill housing and the efficient use of larger lots and utilities, and the 5,800 square foot lots would have enough room for parking and setbacks. Here is a map of the proposed property split that would happen if this were to be approved. Here are the applicable regulations for variance as covered earlier in the night, and the variance criteria. And the applicable regulations around density requirements and lot sizes. With this, it shows that within the RS6 zone, that lot sizes must be between 6,000 and 12,000 square feet. So as far as correspondence, we received one comment from the building department that a duplex shall follow the provisions in R302 within 2018 IRC. Here are some of the conditions of approval: that the applicant owner shall comply with all city codes, policy standards in place at time of property development/redevelopment. Applicant owner shall obtain all applicable building, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing permits for the proposed project. That an emergency vehicle turnaround is required for any dead-end access drive greater than 150 feet in length. At time of development, that the primary driveway must be paved for Nampa City Code 10-22, and a property boundary adjustment application shall be submitted to the Nampa Planning Department for review of the proposed record of survey prior to recording at Canyon County. Here are the relevant facts: that the property is currently unbuildable as a legal access is not available, that the recorded access agreement would be required in order to create housing on an otherwise unbuildable lot, that the proposed lot is considered infill development, which is encouraged by Nampa City Code as stated in the Nampa 2040 Comprehensive Plan, creating density within the city limits near emergency services and utilities as a way to prevent sprawl. That substandard lot sizes were previously approved via variance application on June 20th, 2023. That the privilege has been granted to others in similar situations. That the lots proposed would be required to meet all building and fire codes for life safety, and that development would be required to meet the current standards for the RS zoning district. A fire vehicle turnaround will need to be dimensioned appropriately before recording. A 5,000 square foot lot is wide enough and deep enough to accommodate a single family residence with parking. Family lots vary in size in the immediate area at the surrounding property: to the north 0.16 acres, to the east 0.37, and to the south 1.54 acres. And to the west, there is a townhouse subdivision with 2-unit attached townhouses on each side on a 0.08 acre lot. That the minimum lot size regulation is necessary to prevent perpetuating densities that are inconsistent with the ultimate vision of the area zone as outlined in the comprehensive plan, and that the project will maintain the densities outlined in the comprehensive plan. That new construction of duplexes is required to meet all building safety standards and processes. No known traffic concerns have been identified with granting a variance, and the variance does not create any additional safety, health, or welfare concerns. Given all of the current criteria, staff has found these to be met. Here are your potential motions, and I will stand for any questions.
Mayor Kling.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Haverfield?
In looking at the boundary survey that you provided earlier as a slide that had the two parcels and then the access, I believe, that would be coming off of Amity, is that correct?
That is correct.
So is that a T-turn on the western boundary that's being indicated there? So parcel 1 has a 20-foot wide access, joint access agreement along that western boundary line. Is that what you're showing there?
Hey, Daniel, could I have you speak on this?
Sorry, I did not catch the question.
Did I wake you up? Sorry.
Pretty much.
Okay, so parcel 1 is an existing home.
Correct.
On the western boundary line of parcel 1, there seems to be a 20-foot wide access with a T-turn for fire engine access. Is that what that is?
That is their proposal, that they would bring the access in on that western side for the lot to the south. Currently, that's where their driveway is for the existing house. It does not extend all the way to the southern property at this time.
Okay, so parcel 3 is a little bit larger than parcel 2 because it just comes down to that point. My only question is the interior radius of a fire engine access is 28 feet wide. The way that this is shown, it's showing a direct 90-degree, not a curvature. Is that something that they'll have to provide and have it described in the legal documents?
Yes, that is a correction that they will have to make to the record of survey before that record of survey is approved with the property boundary adjustment.
Then the 3 lots are acceptable as a private access road?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions at this time? Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing, and
Madam Mayor, no one has requested to provide public testimony on this item.
is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this item tonight? Seeing no one, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, what is the will of the council?
I move to deny the variance, NC 10.8-5.B, as shown by staff.
Second.
Okay, and then we'll have to conclude with, because the project does not comply with, could you go back to the findings? Because we'll need to do that. Go ahead and stay with the findings for approval. Thank you.
I got to find that page then.
It's kind of small. It's very difficult to read at this point.
Somebody finds it, what page, that's great.
Still looking. Okay. Here's a larger version of the regulations.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on 1024-2A4. The granting of the variance will not constitute a grant of a special privilege. Actually, in some ways, it would. That's what I'm thinking, is it would be granting, but am I?
Well, A3 to me, I'm not sure the applicant's deprived. I don't like the variance request in steps because it's not, it indicates if we give the variance that to follow the duplex is also being granted. And yet, staff referenced a townhome, which is single family, it's deeded property. This is not going to be deeded lots. It's very convoluted, so I think it does constitute a grant of a special privilege that, from my perspective in A4,
due to the surrounding of single-family homes, with the exception of one property, it's all single-family surrounding that property, which that would be granting a special privilege. When it isn't current, it's all single-family.
Just a question or for my clarification, what's difficult is the variance and the CUP aren't coming together.
That's correct.
So can we argue that we, knowing what we know, are saying, yes, they're going to use it as something other than single-family home if we don't have that within the packet or the details other than what we're speaking right now on the four corner? I just think of it in that term from what he said, the legal term. Do we have enough information from public testimony or from staff to say we know with surety that this is not going to be just single-family home without having an accompanying CUP with it?
It's a good question.
The description on our agenda says it's variance of lot split for less than the required 6,000 to be approximately 58 for each lot to allow future development of a duplex lot.
Would that be sufficient, Preston?
And I guess I'm confused. I'm confused by the information that was provided. There is not consistency of it says we're single-family housing. We're asking for slightly smaller lots. The presumption initially, in my mind, was going to put single-family, but then the word duplex shows up and says, no, we're going to put duplexes. So we're going to put a total of 4 units in there, not townhomes, but duplexes that are going to be of some ownership. I just have a tough time with the application and the inconsistency of what seems to be asked. And we're just saying, just give us a variance and let us do whatever we think we might want to do. Something doesn't make sense here for me.
Mayor, I'd be happy to address that, and I'll defer to also the planning and zoning staff to fill in any gaps where you're more familiar with maybe the substance of the application. What you're wrestling with right now is the difficulty inherent to variances. They're tough criteria. They're tougher than other decisions you usually make. And like I've said from the outset, you have to park the next step. You got to park that to the side and just look at this as a square foot question. Does their request to make 2 lots of 58, 49 square feet, is it warranted here? And stop, hard stop. And that's only the decision here tonight. After that, depending on the outcome, let's say it is approved, a CUP is not the only option they have. They could put a single-family residence on it, right? But what it does, tonight's decision is just for square footage. It's no different than you might read an Idaho Supreme Court case where maybe the first element or two, a litigant prevails, but then on the last 3, they can't get there, right? And so tonight is just step 1, and that's what you have to park the other decision. What the property owner does is their choice in choosing after tonight, but you gotta just look at this as a square foot question, not for the use question.
Could you go back and show us what the square footage is on the adjoining properties that are surrounding it? Are any of those less than 6,000 square feet? If you go to the next picture, I think it did have it. Maybe, I think it was the picture that actually showed the lots drawn out. I think did that show the square footage right there? So 58, 58. Those 2, but the other one doesn't. But the other one has got to be larger than, right. Would it be correct, though, that parcel 1 is larger than 6,000 square feet, and the adjoining properties around this property, are they less than 6,000 square feet?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are currently looking on the map to see the sizing of the other adjacent property owners that are not on the proposed property boundary adjustment.
Okay.
Preston, while they're looking at that, does the applicant's letter have any weight in our future decision, since he wrote his letter specifically writing it as the variance request and conditional use permit? Because that is something that we could potentially argue his intent, but we're talking about square footage, so I'm juggling both. If we approve or deny the variance, can he still go back to the letter? Let's say it gets approved and say, well, initially you knew my intent was duplexes in accompanying with this variance, even though the applications didn't come together.
Mayor? What I would say is just to clarify in whatever decision or motions made tonight, exactly what I'm reiterating, that this is strictly a variance call. This isn't the whole picture. It is one step in that process. That way there's explicitly clear what that is, yeah.
Mayor, Councilman Griffin, so you're looking at his letter, our packet, page 456? Yep. Where he's saying, I request approval of a conditional use permit and a variance for the property located.
In the second paragraph, last line, accommodating.
His request to the city of Nampa was to do a CUP and a variance, and yet what's before us is strictly the variance.
Yes, Councilman Bills, that is all that's before you tonight. That is how the process plays out. It's a distinct step 1 followed by a distinct step 2. And they have a couple options of what they want to do for step 2. He's indicated in his letter what he intends or desires. What ultimately happens, we don't know, and we can't decide tonight.
In the hypothetical world, could he have done his variance and CUP at the same time in this same hearing? Has that happened before?
I can speak to that. Mayor and Council, our code outlines when a CUP accompanies a project to City Council, and this is not in that criteria in code.
Sorry, I turned my mic off. The adjoining property square footage, we're waiting on that so that we can move forward.
Yeah.
I'd like to get this done.
Mayor, all of the other adjoining properties are about 7,000 square feet or more.
Thank you. Okay, so I believe we have a motion on the table and a second, and we were trying to find findings to justify the motion for denial. Does that provide you with the information you need?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have, are we fine with the information?
I think so. We will draft some language. If this gets denied, we will draft some language to bring back to you for the formal findings.
Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez.
I'm making a habit and a promise that I won't vote on issues like this when the applicant is not here, because of the questions that have been arised, they can't answer. So we're making a decision on his land with questions. So I'm going to abstain this vote.
Reynolds.
No.
Haverfield.
On the motion, no.
So the motion is to deny.
Griffin.
Madam Mayor, that's the first time I've ever heard him be quiet.
I know.
Let the record reflect.
Yeah.
Trying to swallow that.
We need to take his pulse.
I wish I could say this time my mouth was full of food. 1 second now. The motion is to deny the variance, so a yes would be in support of denial.
Correct.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
3 in favor, 2 opposed. Motion
Mayor,
carries.
before this is final, Councilman Rodriguez, I understand your reason for abstaining, but is there any legal basis to do so for, you would want to abstain if you have a conflict of interest, right, an economic interest there. You are here to make tough decisions, and that's just the nature of the seat you all are in. And so with that said, I am going to recommend that we need to get a vote from you, Councilman Rodriguez, on this.
So you want me to vote on something that I have questions on and the applicant is not here? That ain't going to happen.
As we discussed, Mayor, if I may, this was the dilemma from the outset when we discussed about this person was notified, had the opportunity to be here, and I can appreciate that preference. And from a record building standpoint, I'm always going to prefer to have somebody here to address questions live, always. That said, sufficient for the legal standard, they were notified and they, for whatever reason, have not failed to appear. Now, there's always a reconsideration. If there's facts here that prevented their attendance, they can make that known and you can make that decision at that time.
Not changing my vote.
Mayor, I just let the record reflect that a vote here, unless there's a valid legal basis to do so as opposed to philosophical, would be required.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, the vote was, I guess it remained abstain against the will of the council, and then 3 yeses and 2 noes, is that correct? Okay, which means that the outcome is denial of this variance request. Okay, thank you. We are now ready to move on to 8.4 on the agenda. This is an action item. It's a variance of 102320 limiting permanent freestanding pole or monument signs in the IL district to a maximum of 40 feet and 300 square feet area on a 2.17 acre parcel. This is at 2228 East Chisholm Drive for Idaho Electric Signs representing Rick Bowman. The original concept is to construct an 1,100 square foot double-sided illuminated pylon sign with a height of 90 feet. So is our applicant here this evening? Go ahead and come forward and I'll let you show us that sign and tell us what you're wanting to accomplish. And thank you.
Jeff Hatch with Hatch Design Architecture. Address is 5119 Briarcrest Drive, Nampa, Idaho, representing Idaho Electric. Idaho Electric's here if we have any specific signage questions. Good evening, Mayor Kling and council members. Thank you for your consideration of our variance application this evening. We are in support of the staff report and appreciate the collaboration with staff on this application. As you may recall, this particular property was originally BC zoned. We went through a rezone process, rezoned this property to light industrial. Based on the industry needs, we came back to this council and rezoned that back to the BC zone last fall. Since then, we built the building and haven't gotten a lot of traction on BC businesses that we want in this area. Unlike other developers that I've seen that try to sell land and just get rid of it, this particular developer believes in Nampa and believes in this site. And so instead of trying to cut ties and leave, we're currently actively putting in a tenant improvement application for adding a second story and infrastructure into the balance of the building to help promote businesses to move in and have a move-in ready state. And in addition to that, the feedback that we've gotten from the general public wanting businesses in this area is that the visibility is a concern because we're about 24 feet or about 2 stories below the surface of the freeway. So the basis of this variance is to increase the maximum business visibility for 10 businesses at this multi-tenant location with potential of future buildings. And I think the key there is we're looking at a signage that is more geared towards a business park. In the past, we've had about 4 of these variance types granted in Nampa based on the staff report. The latest as of 2023, all of those were single tenant monument signs of equal or greater height. And in this particular case, we're wanting to consolidate not only the businesses in this current building that is built, but also future buildings that we're looking at building on this site, consolidating those all into one single sign, similar to what you would see off of Eagle Road or the Meridian Business Park. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Staff?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. For the record, Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director. As was stated before, I figure I just better start with a quick comment about variances. Variances are really hard for staff just because our guidance is the code. And how we know what the council's intention is for the growth of our community and approval of projects is the code. And so what we have to do is we have to fall back on that code over and over and over again in all our presentations. So variances are a little bit unique because they are requesting to not follow that code. So staff is often left with this situation where we're saying, okay, you want a change from code. Whether we agree with what they're proposing or not, we're looking at the code to guide us as to what they should and shouldn't do. So the primary thing we fall back on is, does it meet the criteria? And that's sometimes a hard thing for staff to look at and say, does it meet the criteria or not? But that is truly what we have to do. In this case, it's a request to construct or to get a variance of sign height and sign size. The concept that they're proposing is 1,110 square feet, double-sided illuminated pylon sign with a height of 90 feet. And I'll tell you, I'll show you the code. Sorry, give me just a second.
Mayor, can we get a clarification? As he's...
Yes. So Councilman Bills, if you have a question as he goes through, feel free to ask that.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rodney, the criteria that we're going against, is it the new code that we passed for the freeway corridor in Nampa?
That's correct, to some degree, and I'll speak to that. So it's working now. I just needed to click on it. Yeah. I'll speak to that in just a second. There's two things in code that, one, if you don't use the new code that has been proposed and adopted, you can have up to 40 feet tall, and a sign size limitation, I think, is 300 square feet. If you do the new code, it's 200 square feet and a sign limitation of 80 feet, maximum 60 feet above the plane of the I-84. So that's where we'll get to, but you're right, the code changes did influence whether this meets code or not, and I'll get to those.
Okay.
Could I make a comment on something?
Yeah.
I think you all have had this in your packet, and if you see what the sign is, this is a sign for more than one business, which makes a big difference. And so when you go down and actually look at the sign and where it is situated based on the height of the road, when I first looked at this, I'm thinking, good grief, this is way off of code, way off. But then you look at the practicality of it and how many businesses it represents, not just one, then it's a whole different thing. So I think rather than going line by line through the code where it doesn't meet the code, I'd like to me, we could spend a long time going through all the details. I almost want to skip to the end. Just say, do we need to go through every detail? Because when you look at the sign, it's a little different than what we've envisioned. This is not one sign that is a one massive sign. It's setting off the road. It is much lower. So we can have Rodney go through every single code thing, but I think we need to look at the big picture here of what we're looking at.
I understand. All I'm trying to establish is the top of the sign per the picture off the freeway, the height above the freeway, is it consistent with our new code?
The top of the sign?
Yeah, because that's what we were establishing was, instead of everybody having to come in and ask for variances, we were trying to get
That's right.
an established line above the freeway, knowing our topography goes up and goes down, but that we were
Consistent above the freeway. That is correct. So what is the answer to that question? Thank you.
Mayor and council, it's on the screen here. 80 feet is the maximum, 60 feet from the grade of I-84. So this exceeds that by 10 feet. What they're claiming is that it's a 20-foot drop from the grade of the I-84 to their property. And so if it's 20 feet drop, then they have 60 feet above the freeway grade to put their sign. They're requesting 90 total instead of the 80 that would be allowed in that situation.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Rodney, I was going to ask this question. I probably should have asked Jeff when he was up there. Is this for just one building, or is it for multiple buildings on that site?
So I'll show you the building.
There's one described, but there's a larger commercial parcel there to build on. So I didn't know if this was for multiple buildings or just one.
There's the building. There's multiple tenants, but one
multiple
building.
buildings, multiple tenants.
Multiple tenants,
There's
one building.
potential for other buildings to be placed on the site. Will there be more signs for the other buildings?
Yeah, that's a question you'll have to ask the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Rodney, wasn't this supposed to be a hotel? Wasn't that like our my first vote on council? Because we were making jokes that Victor was going to stay there and cross the river to go golf. What happened to that?
There's other properties in this area, and I believe the hotel was originally proposed on a different property, but again, the applicant should probably respond to that.
Okay.
So I have a question on the other people that are in this building, other businesses located here. How are they going to advertise their businesses? Would they all be asking for a sign, or does this one sign take care of all the tenants in this larger building?
Mayor, I can only speak to my assumption here. This sign that they're proposing is a freeway sign. I mean, 1,110 square feet. That's a pretty good size sign. It's kind of like a freeway sign that you would see
going through a major city, right? But it has multiple tenants, so it's going to have each of at least multiple tenants on that sign. So they would be able to do individual signs for each of their walls on their building, each of their tenant spaces. But this would be a sign to advertise each of them on one big sign, having multiple tenants listed.
Okay, thank you.
Just as a comparison, I looked at the Garrity, and I think it's now called the Sugar District. Looked at their sign that they have for multiple tenants there. It's about 200 square feet, so total.
How does this relate to the 10-mile crossing sign? It's the exact same look and design for my own imagination.
Yeah,
to
I don't
spec.
know this. I don't know the specifics on the size there, but
If you're looking at something, it would be good if that were visible, if you're using it as a judgment to all of us.
No, it's from the packet, page 476, just we had
Okay.
made the comment, look at the human specification compared to the size of the sign. Just for the record.
Okay. I guess the question is, how would we like you to proceed?
Yeah.
If you want to quickly go over, is there anything else that we have missed that's extremely important?
This is here's the conclusion that I made based on just looking at code, looking at approvals of other variances in the past, looking at our recommendations from the committee, and then the adoption of the new code. I think that the 300 square feet is reasonable because when we put together the recommendation from the committee and then City Council reviewed it, I don't think that there was an intention to reduce any amount of square footage that was currently allowed. But what happened is it was a BC zone that we were looking at for those numbers, and that was a 200 square foot max. The IL zone and the IH zone allows 300 square feet. And so the new code didn't take that into account. So I think it's reasonable to say there's justification for up to the 300 square feet based on that code and the intention behind that code. This is really the first time we've looked at that code in practicality, putting it into force. So I think that's reasonable. The 300 square foot is reasonable. But again, these are the bullet points based on the full conclusion here. This is just a summary of it. And essentially, I'm just saying, based on the fact that we just adopted code that addresses the concerns about height and size, it feels like that the only approval should be for the 300 square feet.
So, yes.
So clarity on what you just said. If it's a multiple tenant building, are you talking about 300 square feet per tenant?
Nope, it's total.
Total.
Yeah.
Because right now, there's 10 different sign locations at about 100 square feet apiece, so that'd be about 1,000 square feet. So it'd be 3 times what you're thinking would be allowed.
Yeah, I mean, our code currently would only allow 300 square feet for that.
So the meadows, in this case, that identifier would be the major signage allowed in a sense, because that's pretty much 300 square
Correct,
feet.
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to share an opinion on this. So I think when we looked at our sign code, we were looking at a specific style of sign. This is a totally different style of sign. And when I looked at the initial numbers, I thought, whoa, that is so far off from code. But what I'm looking at is the style of the sign. Actually, it's a beautiful sign. And the style of sign accommodates it. Now, it is 10 feet higher than what we agreed to in the height. But to me, the 300 feet, in some ways, we need to really think about why we're limiting a sign. Because we were limiting the size of a sign to 300 feet because it was just a sign up on a pole.
Billboard.
A billboard sign. This isn't that, and it's a beautiful sign. And so, in my opinion, it's a beautiful sign. It accomplishes what it needs to. Now, if we need to stay true to code, you just say it's got to be 10 feet shorter. You can't be 90 feet up in the air. You got to stick with 80. But this design style is an absolutely beautiful sign. And it actually accomplishes what it needs to accomplish, that it has multiple different people on it. So I personally think maybe we need to look at our code again, and not limit it to that one style of sign along the freeway, because in some ways that's limiting. For whatever it's worth, that's my opinion.
Mayor, since last year, what we heard is that the constant request for sign variance, and it was to try to get the code so that we would gain consistency and kind of
Except we didn't-
decrease the variance. No, we didn't take into consideration of
take
this
this
type
into-
of sign. So the sign, the 300 square feet, size-wise, doesn't bother me. It's just the 90 feet going, where we tried to plane was at 80 feet. And so we approved this, somebody looks at it and says, oh, well, they approved 90, so I'm back to get my
How
90.
about if we approve 80, you can use the sign, but it's only 80 feet, it's
Mayor?
not 90?
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, sorry.
We may be getting a little ahead of ourselves in the public hearing process.
Oh.
We still need to hear from,
Totally forgot.
and we'll thank our good clerk for
Totally forgot.
helping with that.
Excuse me, I'm thinking we're done. Maybe we should just skip over to public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up?
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone that's
Thank you.
requested public testimony.
Is there any? Thank you, Mark. Come on forward. Mark would like to testify. Well, you raised your hand.
Mark Mitchell, 12355 Landau Way, Nampa, 83686. I can't remember, it's been a long weekend. Real quick question, can we see a sign, a picture of the sign?
Could you put the
Did
picture
you
of the
guys have
sign
it
up?
there? And is there any variance on the height from the freeway? Because we all know the freeway does this. So is it 80 feet above the freeway? Or is
I
it
think it
80 feet
was-
from ground level?
Was it 60 feet above the freeway? And this was, remind me, I've got it in front of me. I can look at it. Say that again?
Is it 60 feet
52
above the
feet above the
freeway?
freeway.
Or is it the ground level? And what happened to the hotel? I'm with you, Sebastian. I thought it was a hotel 2 years ago.
So excited to
What
go
is it
stay
now?
and play some golf.
Okay. So that's the sign. Okay.
And then show it in the picture. Did you show,
Yeah,
maybe it's
I
below
saw the
that,
picture as well. So
Okay,
those
that's it.
will list all the businesses in each one of those slots, I take it? Okay. Okay. It's a nice sign, but it just doesn't make sense to me, be 80 feet, because where's 80 feet? Is 80 feet from the ground, or is it from the level of the freeway? Because that's really where we're talking about.
The new sign proposal would bring the sign up to 90 feet and 1,110 square feet. That said, the above the freeway piece is, I gotta find that in here.
Is that not what you're worried about, is the freeway?
It is.
Okay. So I think it's a great sign. I think it's a great idea. I would go with the 90 feet just simply because, but it would have to, legally, I would think you'd have to say freeway level can't be any taller than this, because we don't want it 100 feet above the freeway. But we don't want it,
Well, we
is that-
changed the ordinance to get a consistent sign, because every sign company, when I got on council a year ago, there was multiple applications constantly asking for, I want to be a little taller. I
Right.
want to be a little
Right.
bigger, and so forth. And we got a constant upflow, downflow of elevation along the freeway from the beginning of Napa on the east to the west. And so
Right.
what we worked on for some time was to find a happy medium plane.
Right.
And I can't tell you, but I thought maybe Rodney has it. the 80 feet is off of the average elevation or the, we tried to strike a plane.
I'm just thinking, if you've got it off the level of the freeway, then all the signs are gonna appear level.
Where did we end up with that ordinance?
Mayor, is that okay if I respond? The ordinance is before you, it's in yellow. So it's 60 feet from the grade of I-84 center line, not to exceed 80 feet from the grade of the subject property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So that's what we established.
So this particular one, can you go back and tell us, this one, 60 feet from the grade above, correct? Okay, so how many feet is this above the grade?
I think it's close to 60, 65, 66, I think. We're not certain. All we have is what they provide us at this point. But the ultimate build-out will not be above 60 feet from the grade of the freeway. So that, we'll have to confirm that with the applicant. But I think what they're proposing is 90 feet. So if they're 20 feet down, then it would be 70 feet in the air from the freeway grade.
So what would the level of that bottom sign be, Rodney, if you don't mind?
Yeah, 24 feet there.
24 feet, and that's what you're needing, is get that bottom sign up high enough? Okay. Beautiful sign. Those are just my questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Okay, yes.
So Rodney, this doesn't preclude the fact that they can put signage on the building as well, correct?
Yeah, but this is 11.
That's correct.
We didn't even
So
take into
what is the limitation as far as for each tenant? Is it 300 square feet?
I'd have to look at that. Give me a second and I'll look that up.
Is there anyone else here this evening that had intended to testify? You would be welcome to. Thank you for giving us your name and address, and thank you.
So it's Jim Namath. I'm with Idaho Electric Signs, and it's 6528 Supply Way in Boise, Idaho. So we designed it to get it above so that people driving down the freeway can see the signage. That sign is the only sign that they have for advertising. One, they're not on a major thoroughfare. The only road that gets to that location is Chisholm. So you get off of Franklin there, get on Fargo, get on Chisholm. That's the only access to that building. So their only advertising is that sign. Where across the street or across the freeway, you have Jackson's, 91 foot, over 500 square feet. They're a single tenant. But you can see them visibly a lot easier. And same with Maverick in that same location area. So the hardship part of it is too, is that that building is so close to the freeway, you can't hardly see the signs on the building. So their main advertising is gonna be on that pylon, freestanding sign. So, and that's the purpose, to get it that height.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, while you're there, council, do you have any questions?
I have questions for Jeff when he comes
Jeff,
back.
but none, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Haverfield, well, when we're done with public hearing, actually, I think we are done with public hearing. Are we waiting for an answer to a question?
Yeah, he was going to look at the signage restrictions as far as on the building itself.
Mayor,
Size.
I put those on the screen. I think it's 25% is possible. So 25% of the building or tenant wall.
For a wall marking.
So is there a maximum size allowed?
It's just 25%.
So one tenant, that'd be a pretty big sign.
Any other questions? I think we're ready for Jeff Hatch to give his closing remarks, and then Councilman Haverfield, you can ask your questions. So Jeff, I think we're ready for you.
Madam Mayor and council members, thank you again. Based on some of the comments from the council and the public, I did want to mention a couple things. When we got this building approved, there was a height sensitivity because of the TV station adjacent to us. And so we actually suppressed the height of this building in respect to our adjacent neighbor. That neighbor does not have the same concerns with this proposed monument sign. This really gives us the opportunity to provide the desired visibility that we're seeking. The 2023 approval for the 91-foot Jackson sign really kind of made us think that 10 tenants for 1,000 square feet for one tenant for 500 square feet seemed reasonable and really kind of helped set the tone for a multi-tenant sign in a respectful manner. And with that said, where our monument sign is placed on our site, the interstate is still arching taller. And so as we go eastward or eastbound, the interstate actually continues to rise beyond the height of our sign. So if we're looking at it, dead center where our sign is, it's 24 feet below the interstate, but the interstate continues to grow away in height, which continues to prove as a problem. Going eastbound, you're lower, you can see the building. Going westbound, you really can't see much of this building at all. And so that's really where this sign comes into play. In regards to the hotel, what about the hotel? The hotel's approved. The hotel has plans. The hotel is waiting for tenants in this building so we can build the hotel. So at this time, the owner's intent is still very much, they've subdivided the land with the intention of doing that hotel. They have plans ready and are available. So one of the tenants on this sign may very well be that hotel. There was a question about other future developments, and we are looking at two similar buildings to this tilt-up building to the north. In our discussions, we feel that this area would be ideal for a couple more buildings to the north, and we can kind of consolidate the hotel in the west as was previously designed. So with that, this monument sign would be for 10 tenant spaces, but realistically, based on the size and nature of these buildings, you could have 3 tenants per building. That's 3 buildings, so 9 tenants, and the hotel, there's 10. So if we have smaller tenants, those tenants would probably have the opportunity to have signage on the building, but realistically, we felt that this was an appropriate size for the future for the signage, but also something that was respectful both from what we've seen approved in the past from a variance standpoint, but also realistically what we think would be appropriate for this property in the future. And I'll stand for any questions.
Mayor Kling. So it appears that you might have answered my question if this monument sign, or I'm sorry, this signage, pedestal, or whatever it would be called, it'd be more vertical in nature, is for multiple buildings, not just for one. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor and Council Member Haverfield, that is correct.
Okay. And the articulation of this first building and the visual that we have in our packet is a westbound image that appears to allow quite a bit of signage on the face that would be identifiable, or at least from where this picture was taken. So is there a signage package that you have in mind as far as for the building itself to limit the type of signage that a person driving up would be able to use? Or is it intended to be duplicated on the building face along with this sign that we're being asked to approve tonight?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Haverfield, at this time, it's kind of a case-by-case basis, both from a signage submittal package and then also from a tenant. And so based on the tenants that we have coming in, their desire for signage, they would then submit that signage as far as what would be appropriate on the building. As far as the future buildings to the north especially, signage on the buildings themselves almost becomes obsolete because of the visibility. So
I don't know how big this building is, but it appears that there could be multiple tenants, up to 10 possibly. If they're all on this sign, how do the buildings in the backside get the equal consideration as far as on this sign package? Or do they? Or do you hold out 3 for one building, hold out 3 for another building, and then have, say, 4 available for this one? Is that the intent?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Haverfield, the owner is not here to speculate that, so I have to speak on his behalf. But based on his intent and his patience in understanding the market, rezoning this property to make sure it's appropriate for this council, something that's been approved multiple times. His intent is to do something that is in the best interest of Nampa. And
A couple
so,
years from now, we're not going to see another sign request as far as on the property.
no, we've set this up specifically for a business park signage.
All right, well, that answers that question. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, if we don't have any further questions for the applicant, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. What is the will of the council?
So Mayor, I just asked Rodney a clarification again. In the description, it's saying to a maximum of 40 feet height. That doesn't seem to reflect the code we adopted.
Yeah, great question, Mayor. Mayor and council. So if, as I stated earlier, if they used this criteria that's not related to the 600 feet from the center line of I-84, they could go 40 feet tall and a maximum of 300 square feet. If they use this criteria, which is the new criteria, they could go a height of up to 80 feet, but then the restriction is the 200 square feet of maximum. So if you wish to approve the variance, I would suggest that you maybe use this and just give me some reasoning for it, and then and it's okay to not stick with the 600 feet from the freeway if you grant a variance. You could grant it a variance to the size and the height. Just up to the council.
Can it be approved in the motion just to state that you, I don't get to do this, but would it be that you could just move to approve the variance as per the request of the applicant?
That could be.
Rather than going through this, because this is confusing.
I would just need some findings. I just put these proposed conditions over here. So you could say as provided by the applicant, yeah, as proposed by the applicant, but you need to give me some facts to support that decision.
Okay.
So the criteria for variances is here. We've had that several times tonight. You just need to give me some reasonings for approval and some facts related to the project. And I just put these proposed conditions over here because I had suggested, well, if you approve it, but you have these conditions, one of those conditions is the 300-foot maximum and only up to 80 feet in this location. So if you approve it, you need to look at those conditions and say, actually, we do want condition 1, 3, and 4, because these are related to ITD's input that we received. But then as proposed by the applicant with the following facts, something like that.
So Mayor, I make a motion that we approve variance 00188-2025 with the conditions of 1, 3, and 4, recognizing that the request is in between our code allowances, and also that it is a standalone site sign as opposed to a one business sign.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Well said, by the way. Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Reynolds. Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
No.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, guys. It's a good-looking sign.
That's great.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're going to move
Get that motel built.
to unfinished. Jeff, thank you. Great job. Okay, number 9, unfinished business, 9.1. This is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to community business and a potential development agreement at 0 Ustick Road for a 15-acre parcel for Connor Lindstrom of KM Engineering LLP representing Jackson Food Stores, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
In order to the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that certain lands commonly known as 0 Ustick Road, parcel R30782010000, located in the northwest one-fourth of Section 2, Township 3, North, Range 2, West, Boise Meridian, totaling 15 acres or more or less, lay contiguous to the limits of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, State of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the City of Nampa and be zoned BC Community Business on 15 acres more or less, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the City of Nampa, determining that said annexation and zoning has the consent of the landowners, it is contiguous to the city limits, and it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, directing the city engineer and the planning and zoning director to add said properties to the official zoning maps of the City of Nampa, and to designate said properties as BC Community Business as set forth herein on the official zoning maps and other area maps of the city, providing for conditions of approval, providing for recordation, subject to the terms of that certain development agreement between the applicant and the city, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Madam Mayor, I move this pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Ingula?
Yes.
Reynolds? All in favor, motion carries.
9.2 is an action item. It's the first reading of a corrected ordinance for ordinance number 4865 for annexation and zoning to single-family residential for a .70 acre parcel addressed as 0 South Grays Lane, and a zoning map amendment from RS18 to RS6 for a .052 acre parcel addressed as 507 South Grays Lane for Stephen A. and E. Joyce Veerland, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that certain lands commonly known as 0 S. Grays Lane, parcel R31800010000, located in the southwest one-fourth of Section 25, Township 3 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian, totaling 0.74 acres more or less, lay contiguous to the limits of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, State of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the City of Nampa and be zoned RS6 single-family residential on .74 acres more or less, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the City of Nampa, determining that said annexation and zoning has the consent of landowners, it is contiguous to the city limits, and it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and determining that certain lands commonly known as 507 South Grays Lane, parcel R27863523000, located in the southwest one-fourth of the Section 25, Township 3 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian, totaling 0.52 acres more or less, is currently zoned RS18 single-family residential in the limits of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, State of Idaho, and that said land should be rezoned RS6 single-family residential on 0.52 acres more or less, declaring said land by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the City of Nampa, determining that said rezoning is in the best interest of the public and consistent with the comprehensive plan, directing the city engineer and the planning and zoning director to add said properties to the official zoning maps of the City of Nampa, and to designate said properties as RS6 single-family residential as set forth herein on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, providing for conditions of approval, providing for recordation, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Madam Mayor, I move this pass under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass under suspension of rules. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Hills.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
I would now ask that we, for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061B and D. We will not need C this evening.
So moved.
Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hills.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you.